Welcome to the Transform with Vance podcast, where transformations begin every day, and I am your host, Vance Hines. So let's get started. Those are the 5 heaviest words in the human language. You know that, don't you?
Oh, tell me about it.
Until death do us part.
5 words. Big ones. Heavy ones. The heaviest of the heavy.
Yeah, those are, those things are hard. It's like the world stands still when those words are uttered.
For sure. So how long have you and Mary been together?
Shit, forever. It feels like, infinity plus.
Yeah.
But
plus. Infinity plus.
But it's been, let's see, we got married in June of 90, so it's been, what, 30?
Outstanding.
32 years, I guess. She's put up with me through many a drunk and 475 pounds, so shit, I guess I'll keep her.
Yeah. I think she'll keep you as well, my friend.
So you just got married. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. It was fun. It was in the middle of COVID, so it was September this year, and we decided we didn't want to really do a traditional wedding because we didn't want our family to have to travel or put themselves in any sort of danger. So we eloped. We went out to Colorado, just the two of us, and did our thing. And apparently, I don't know if you heard the rumor, but wedding rings give you COVID because we both got COVID on our trip. We tried to stay away from as many people as humanly possible. And we think we got it at the Denver airport. So we spent our first week together sick together. So
that's
sickness and health is a real thing, my friends.
That's the way honeymoon should go, That gives you a real taste of the future.
It was a taste, and hopefully we won't get that taste again, my friends.
Well, congratulations! I'm happy for you and your wife, and I send you good wishes toward a happy marriage. So,
thanks, buddy. And for everybody to know, Vance sent me a giant check. Wedding present, humongous. I didn't know that he was that rich, but god damn, did he send me a lot of money for our wedding. So what a nice gentleman he was. I think it was the book money. I really think that all the money he made off the 90-day workout journal for men, I think he gave me a substantial piece of it for our wedding. So we are very appreciative.
Well, I either started drinking again, or man, I really overdosed on my nightly meds that night. So one or the other. I don't remember sending that check, but I'm glad you appreciate the thoughtfulness of it.
You're such a generous man.
All right. Well, today this is Vance Hines, and I've got the undescribable Dr. Thomas Walent on my show today for the DDPY success story. Dr. Walent, how are you today?
Oh, Vance, couldn't be happier, man. I'm really glad we got a chance. I'm actually I love doing the podcast and stuff. I'm glad we had a chance to chat because it's been a while since we got a chance to talk. And, I first met you at Summit a couple years ago. That was the last Summit that there was before everything got shut down. And, it was just one of those awesome things to know someone as a personality that's online and then to kind of meet them face to face. And it was really cool to meet. So I'm glad we get a chance to kind of catch up and see how we've been doing since then.
Well, that's good. Now raise your right hand. I swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and I'm just teasing you like a deposition. I figured being a chiropractor.
I'll put my hand on the Bible.
Yeah.
I'll put my hand on the Bible.
Yeah, I figured, as a chiropractor, surely you've given your deposition before, so.
So I'm actually an eye doctor. Yeah.
Oh, I thought you were a chiropractor. You're an eye doctor.
No. I am an optometric physician. Yeah, so I practice with that. Yeah.
Really?
So I'd be in a better position in life, I'm sure, if I was a chiropractor. But
oh man, well hell, I got to ask you more about an optometric physician. I always misunderstood. So tell me, what does an optometric physician do?
Oh, everything just kind of day to day. So if you go to the optometrist to go get your routine eye exam and go get your glasses, that's what I do. But I'm also a specialist in ocular disease, so I take things a little bit further. So I'm more on the medical end of things. So everything right up to surgery, I do pre-op and post-operative work with the ophthalmologists who do the surgeries. And I live in North Carolina. There's a lot of ocular disease down there. There's a lot of diabetes. There's a lot of hypertension. That all affects the eye. So those are things that I'm doing on a daily basis. And that kind of fits into my passion for fitness and nutrition now too. It all kind of comes into play. I can do a lot with my patients with my level of training. So really enjoy it. It's a fun job. It's one of those great things where no one really hates to go to the eye doctor, like a dentist or like going to the regular doctor. And we provide really, really high quality services. So it's been a good career so far.
Well, good, man. I've told a lot of people that, my eyes are one of two organs I really want to work on my body, So, but tell me, is macular degeneration, is that genetic?
There's a huge genetic component to it. The full term for macular degeneration is age-related macular degeneration. So some people get it just based on the aging of the eye, and people are living longer right now, which is a great thing. But there's a lot of degenerative diseases that develop at a higher rate now because people are living longer rates. So, but there's other things that are factors. If patients had poor cardiovascular health or a lot of exposure to UV, or if they were heavy smokers, that increases their risk of macular degeneration. But we do see a lot of family trees that do carry that disease. What the bummer about it is it's not treatable. There's only so much we can do for it. But I think with modern stem cell therapy and things like that, gene therapy, I think we're going to be able to handle it a little bit better in the next couple of generations.
See, my mother was diagnosed with it. That's why I wonder. I figure that may be in my future, but I was hoping you say it's not genetic, but I was pretty sure it was.
Yeah, there's so many things that some families you just never develop, and then there's some things that unfortunately, so there's no crystal ball. There will be though, Vance. I guarantee you there's going to be a system they're just going to scan your barcode that they put on the back of your neck, and they're going to tell you every disease that you can ever develop in your life, and they're going to have a pill for everything. So,
hey, what do you think as a medical professional? What do you think of like those 23andMe tests and those things that where you get to see markers of your potential genetic health? What do you think? You think that's a good thing or a bad thing?
It depends on the person, Vance, right? Yeah. So if someone is a hypochondriac, it might not be the best thing in the world. For some people, it might be a really, really good thing. So particularly for people that have diseases like breast cancer in their family, that's a really easy gene test. You can tell if you carry that BRC gene. So there's a lot of things that I think from a preventative manner, we can kind of prepare for the future better. And then there are some people, I know people particularly, they would never want to know. They want to just live their life and then just kind of roll the dice and how things go. But if we can take preventative measures to live a healthier and better quality life, Vance, I think that's the most important thing. So I see a lot of good in it. I do see for the right people or for the wrong people, it's probably not the best thing for them to do. I'll tell you a funny story though. So it was a Monday morning and I came into my office. First patient of the morning was a hysterical woman. She was crying horribly. And I walked in the room and I don't know what I walked into. It was very strange. I don't have to deal with too much terrible news in my office, right? Mm-hmm. So I asked her, I said, hey, what's up? And so she had done a 23andMe test. And then, they tell you what your family tree is as well. Mm-hmm. She found out that her father was a total scumbag and had like 7 kids that she never married, that she never knew, right? So there was these, she was linked to all these different people up and down the East Coast. He was a carpet salesman in the 70s. So he was traveling up and down the coast creating these little mini families, right? So I saw her 5 minutes after she discovers this on her phone. She gets a thing that says, these are your brothers and sisters. So my first question, I'm terrible. I'm terrible with crying women. I don't know what to do. I'm a bad consoler. So I'm just like, do you want to go? Like, what do you want to do?
I like to listen to audiobooks. I listened to one that was talking about all the, the trees. I forget something relative or something. And just something I picked up in the library book. But there was the one that stuck out to me in my mind was a family. They had 9 kids. They did the test, and the father found out he was not the father of any of the 9, and that the 9 had 8 different fathers.
Wow. It's real. This stuff is real.
8 different
real.
fathers for 9 kids.
Man.
But it was, no, I think they found out after he was dead or something. I can't remember. But it was in the book. That one stuck out to me. That was funny. But,
it's the end of family secrets, that's for sure.
Yeah.
You know, the milkman is a real thing now. It used to be the joke. Now it's real.
Yeah, so. That's right. Hey, you know, my other reference I have, there used to be a guy, his wife worked for me years and years ago, but he wanted to be an optometrist, I think. But evidently he was having a hard time getting into the to the optometry schools. Evidently it was pretty competitive to get into a lot of schools, and he ended up having to go down to Puerto Rico, and he went to optometry school in Puerto Rico. He and his wife took his wife down there, and they learned Spanish. But then he come back, and he had a hard time passing the test at first, and he finally passed it. But I didn't realize that getting into optometry school was so difficult.
Yeah, when I was in school, I think there was only 13 schools in the country at the time. I think there's about 16 now. It's like dental school, so there's these separate schools. So some schools are in big programs. Mine was called the Pennsylvania College of Optometry. That was in Philly. It's the best school. No, I'm just going to say just because I was there. But some of them are actually, affiliated with medical schools. So a lot of times you're doing your undergraduate work to get your degree in biology or chemistry or whatever you choose. And then you go on to your postgraduate work in the optometry school. So a lot of times it's associated with the med school. So you're taking your general pharmacology and your physiology and your anatomy along with dental students, MDs, and yourself, and then it branches off. And then some are separate schools. So there are a lot of people that have taken that option for all sorts of different medical fields, is going down to Puerto Rico, and the schools have gotten a lot better for sure. Mm-hmm. It's a viable option for some people. I think it's a little more expensive though, from what I understand. I think, but it's an option. There's so many good options out there now in the medical field. There's so many more people living. We need more doctors. We need more nurses. We need more PAs. We need things like that. So glad your friend got through. Yeah,
he made it. He had a super nice guy. I'm glad he did. And he had a passion for it. He really wanted it. So that's good.
Yeah, as you mentioned, there's standardized testing is a bitch. There's some people that are intelligent people that can't pass a test, right? Mm-hmm. It's just because they get test anxiety or things like that, and it can kind of derail someone's career. And this is one of those things. Med schools, we have to take a thing called the OAT, which is very similar to the MCAT. And I know some people are very bright people that just never did well on that test and couldn't get into the schooling they wanted. It's
crazy. So tell me the school progression of what to get to where you are in life, the licensing and all that.
Yeah, so this is a second career for me. So this is going to be the most boring conversation that's ever happened on your podcast.
Okay. Hey, no, man. So you evidently haven't listened to any of my podcasts before. So
I have actually. I really enjoy it. That's why I was excited to get on here, because I know we have so much in common with the way we like to conversate with people and hear their stories, and it's great. But so I did an undergraduate at a small school in Pennsylvania called King's College. Mm-hmm. I had a dual major in biology, and I had a second major in a second degree in neuroscience. That was the career I wanted to go towards, was neuroscience. So I was actually a neuroscientist at what's called the National Institute of Health down in Baltimore. So I worked part-time with them and also with Johns Hopkins University doing scientific research. We were doing research on Alzheimer's disease and Lou Gehrig's disease. So it was at the National Institute of Aging, which was super cool. So while I was there, I realized that as I thought science was my passion, it really wasn't. My passion is dealing with people directly. Mm-hmm. That job was just, you write a lot of papers, but you do a lot of research in dark rooms by yourself with mice and cells, and that's it. And then you present your paper once a year, and then so that life really wasn't for me. So I went back to school a little bit later, and that's when I decided to do optometry. So I applied and I got into a few schools, and I chose the Pennsylvania College of Optometry, which is called Salus University now. So so that's an additional 4 years. So it was 4 years of undergraduate. And then it was an additional 4 years of optometry school. And then I chose to do what's called residency. So in optometry, you can be a specialist beyond your level of training. So I went through and I did that, and that was in ocular disease. So I did that. So all these bills later and a big giant receipt that comes along with your diploma, and here I am today.
That's right.
Your friendly neighborhood optometrist.
Well, that's cool. That's cool. So you can. So you are. So an optometrist. So could you do surgery, or you cannot do surgery at your level?
No, can't do surgery at this level. Some states were pushing for it, so there's certain small procedures that we learned in school, and it's just at the state level of whether or not you can do that or not. So North Carolina, the reason I moved to North Carolina is a super progressive state when it comes to enhancing the field of what I do. So I wanted to work where the best doctors work, so that's why I moved down here. And it helps with the beaches down here too. That's a nice thing. Yeah. But so that's why I came down here. So that's the passion, man, and it's helping people and just dealing with them every day. And I absolutely love what I do. And I have so many passions when it comes to improving people's health and well-being, and we'll talk about that, I'm sure, a lot. So it really fits into everything. But I've just worked too freaking much.
Yeah, well,
we'll get into that.
It's crazy. But you got a lot of irons in the fire too. But,
typically, I do. Yeah.
So so LASIK. If you wanted to do LASIK, I imagine there's a lot of money in LASIK. So say you wanted to get to a point where you could do LASIK surgery, what would you have to do?
So I would have to go back to school and go through full medical school. So I'd have to go and become an ophthalmologist. So I'd have to go to an accredited medical school, do your 4 years of medical school, then do my surgical residency. So it'd be another 8 years and another probably $500,000. So I'm going to stick with what I do.
Yeah,
I really thought, Vance, I was going to be a plastic surgeon. I thought that was my thing. So I'm the biggest nerd in the world. Like when it comes to didactic and understanding things and being a science nerd, this is what I love. I really thought that was going to be the move. And then I looked at, after I already chose that first career and how long it was going to take me, it was going to be another 10 years of schooling as opposed to another 4 with optometry. I chose the latter, just kind of get ahead in life a little bit. Yeah. And but it would be a lot extra schooling, man, a lot of extra schooling.
You know, I always thought the plastic surgeon may be the best job on the planet. You know, you got beautiful women coming in here and taking their clothes off and asking you to feel and check out things and how they can make them look better and
it could be that or a casting director. They both do the same thing.
Well, that's true. They're similar. Yeah, I guess they're similar observatory positions. So, but I tore up my hand one time back in the day. I crushed across the back across here. But I had to go to a plastic surgeon for a while, and I can't remember. A couple other surgeries on the thumb. But anyway, he quit doing hands. He was doing hands and plastic surgeries, and last I heard, he ended up just mainly doing boobs, and I think he
went to the dark side, right?
Yeah, and I can't blame a fellow for that, though. It's having beautiful women pay you to do that. I think that's that might be a good way to help people.
It's a cash business too, right?
Yeah.
Insurance companies don't pay you for those type of optional surgeries. So those guys are just printing checks. When you go, there's some amazing plastic surgeons do the reconstructions like you're talking about with hands. Hands are so complicated. If you get any sort of a cut on your hands, it's super complicated, or your face, car accidents, things like that. Some of those guys are absolute magicians, what they can do. When I was working at the VA hospital, I got to work with an oculoplastic surgeon who was a person that did facial reconstructions after incidents and things like that. And God, you see some terrible things, and the things he can do to improve someone's life again, just magic. It's just unbelievable.
It's amazing.
Unbelievable. Yeah.
All right, man.
Some skilled people out there.
Where'd you grow up?
I grew up in northeastern Pennsylvania. Do you watch The Office at all, Vance?
Not much.
Show the
Some, but
office.
not much.
Okay. So my town is called Scranton, Pennsylvania, which is the home of the office. Most people know that. Everyone that doesn't know what Pennsylvania, I just say I'm from Philadelphia, but Philadelphia is like way far from where I live.
You know Ed
yeah, it's a good
Creed?
place to grow up.
Ed Creed?
I don't.
And he's one of the older DDPY people. He's up there somewhere in Pennsylvania. I'm not
really?
sure. Yeah. He's a real nice guy.
Yeah, we're finding a couple more that are. I wish I still was up there because there's a few strong guys. Like Bruce Nelson doesn't live too far from there. Jay Fagard, who's another DDPY instructor, he lives like right next to my mom's town, which is cool. So next time I go up and visit, I got to make sure I check out one of his classes. But it's cool, man. We're everywhere. The DDPYers are everywhere.
Absolutely. Everywhere. So how did you end up in North Carolina? You said you moved there for the optometry and also for the beach.
That was the main thing. So I did one of my residencies down here, and I loved it. I love the area. I live in Wilmington, North Carolina, which is right on the very, very tip of North Carolina. Right, it's about an hour north of Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. So a lot of people go there for vacationing. But I did a residency down here, and the people are great. The South is an awesome. I love the South. It's much slower than the Northeast with the hustle and bustle. Yeah, it was it was a good lifestyle change, and it was good to get away too. It was my first real. I knew I had to start a career somewhere, and I had to start a life somewhere. So I figured, I want to start somewhere where I actually make the choice. With all the education that I've gone through and everything like that, there wasn't a lot of choices. It was just basically the same routine every day. It's just work your butt off. So it was cool to say, okay, this is where I think I'm going to start my life. And I think I made the right choice. Really like it here.
Did you have any family there or any connection, or did you just pick the place and go for it?
I picked a place, which is crazy. So one of the guys that I had a mutual connection through a doctor, and he contacted me and said that there was a position open, and I did the interview on the phone. I never saw the clinic. I got hired on the spot, and he's like, when can you get down here? I lived in a hotel for a month until I can kind of get settled up. So I was really, it could have gone really badly. But luckily I made it work, and I'm still at that same exact job now to this day. I'm still working in the same position. So my boss and I have a really great relationship.
How far are you from the beach?
Probably 3-minute walk. Yeah. I'm 2 blocks off the ocean here, so which was pretty cool.
So do y'all have a barrier island, where you got like a bay system, or you just ride on the ocean?
Yeah, so it is an island, right? So we have to go over a bridge to get in. There's only one way on, one way off. And then, the ocean's nice. So the town that I'm in is called Carolina Beach. So there's 3 beaches in Wilmington. So we're in Carolina Beach, which is cool. So it's nice. It's a chill place. It's just like everywhere else. It's developing like crazy. Yeah. Everyone's coming down to live. But we got in where it was still affordable. I couldn't afford it now, honestly. There's no possible way. So luckily I got in early, and it's a nice quality of life. The opportunity to, with how busy I am, to just when I do have a free time, to just take a 5-minute walk and just go see the ocean. That means the world. I know you're a water guy too. Mm-hmm. It's so nice to just be anywhere near water. So.
I agree. I feel better when I'm looking at water.
Yeah. What does it feel like to go in 20-degree water?
Well, it's funny. Have you done one of those cold plunges before? Have you done those?
So here's the thing. I've been for the last couple months, and it was really ironic. I saw you started doing those dips. I started doing cold water therapy. I started doing the Wim Hof method, which is a breathing technique, and then cold exposure. Yeah. So I really got into that, and literally just scrolling through my feed, and I always saw the Vance feeds, always saw the food, always saw the weigh-ins and stuff. And I saw you in the water, and I was like, shit, he's really taking it up a notch, because I'm just doing cold showers here. Yeah. And, oh man, that was the real deal.
No, you walk out there, it was 20, I did it when I think the coldest was about 25 degrees, I think, or something like that. But you walk out in that water, it's a lake, it's just lake Waxahachie. I just walk out in it, wind is blowing. But when you hit it, that you feel kind of like icicles, and your breath, it takes your breath away. I mean, it's like a moment of panic, like you're going through a stress test almost. It's just a moment of panic, and then it settles down, and then after about a minute or two, it's not that cold. You're just sitting there and you think you can go forever, and then when you get out, you got kind of a high, and it's weird. It's I went up to 10 minutes, and
10 minutes. Wow.
Yeah, and it was in the 20s when I did it. I went to the what I did was I'd been going to Hot Works, so I went to the Hot Works, and I was weighing that day, so I didn't want to drink any water. I went to Hot Works, and I did the sauna for I don't know how long, 30 minutes or something. Then I drove from the sauna out to the lake, which is about a 10-minute drive. I got in, spent 10 minutes in the water, and then I come home and showered and weighed, and then showered and did my video. Came in here and started working. And it was like my whole body was cramping, across here.
Oh, man.
My whole,
yeah.
And then my quadriceps and the insides of my thighs, and man, I went to eating everything and drinking everything I could find. I was doing those stuff I'd had from when I did the 100-mile bike ride and stuff. I was eating. I mean, I thought and I couldn't get warm. No matter what I did, I couldn't get warm. And after that day, I said, to hell with them cold plunges. I think that's a young man's game. It's not for a 57-year-old, but I pushed it a little far that day.
It might have been the extremes.
Well,
So tell me, are you working out in the infrared sauna too? Are you doing that, or are you just doing the saunas?
Well, on the Hot Works, at first I wasn't. I was just doing the saunas, but now I am. Now I'm doing. I'm not doing their routine, but I do I either do 2 or 3 of their little. I think about 12-minute sessions, 13-minute sessions.
Wow!
But I ride a bike and do the row machine, but I just do my pace, just a slow, steady pace, and work up a sweat. Sure. I don't do their CrossFit type deal. And then if I get there early enough, I do. They've got one that's kind of like an elliptical with the arms, but you're sitting down. And so on my best days, I get all 3 of those, and then I go meditate in there for about 20 minutes. So I end up getting about a full hour of sauna over the whole thing.
Wow.
So it's pretty cool.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's a good workout. I gave up on the cold plunge after I damn near killed myself. I did like the highs, but I couldn't get warm and I couldn't quit cramping. It was miserable that day, man. I went a little far that day.
You can find some safer ways to get those highs for sure.
Yeah, but I recommend it for young people because you really, you feel great when you come out. But the only problem I had, because I still had about a 8 or 10 minute drive home, and then go get in a hot shower, and a guy told me not to do the hot shower, to try to let your body cool itself, and that's what I tried to do that last day. That got me in trouble. But the ride home to the hot shower before I tried that last deal was the worst because you couldn't get warm once you got out.
Wow.
If you're in that water, it doesn't feel like you're. It's not cold. Your body, it's like your whole body's numb. After that initial, feels like nails everywhere going in you. That and the panic, and then it's just calm. I could have stayed longer, honestly, than 10 minutes, and I wouldn't have had a problem. It's kind of scary, ain't it?
It's adrenaline, baby. It's a drug. It works.
It is. And then you're high for a long time from it. All right, man. So we're gonna get you to doing these 20-degree open water swims. Next
I'm looking. So this I'm going to try to get a tank here at the house. We're going to try to get something because I was doing cold showers and I did really well with them, but it's not cold enough anymore. And I'm too cheap to go buy ice, so we're going to try to figure out something that we can set up here that's pretty inexpensive.
Well, that's how I got to the lake, because every option is expensive as shit. The cheapest, if you look on YouTube, is where you buy like a stand-up cooler and seal it and leave water in it. But still, you'd have to unplug it before you get in to keep from electrocuting, and then, the best ones are the ice. But if you're going to buy a cold plunge, you're looking at spending $5,000 to $10,000 for a damn cold plunge.
Yep, and you're in there just for a few minutes every day. I couldn't justify it. So I don't know if you've been following Ryan Hofs at all, who's our DDPY resident Iceman right now. But
no,
God, he bought a little kid's like plunge pool.
Yeah,
and packed it in snow where he lived. So he had fresh snow in there every single day. It was awesome. So we were planning on doing that here, but then it just got so warm. I'd have to spend $10 on ice every single day to fill it up. So like, we'll stick with it. So we'll come up with something new. Have you ever done cryotherapy? Have you ever done the tank?
No, I've never tried it. Have you?
It's a cool one. It's pretty cool. I really enjoyed that. It's quick and it's freaking cold. I mean, it's like minus 200 degrees or something like that is what the exposure is, but you're only in there for less than a minute. We did it for our podcast. All four of us did it like separate places, and we put it up there, and it felt good. Just like you said, man, you get that high, but you don't get like as cold when you do an ice bath. Everything like it's really, really deep. This is more superficial. You get really, really cold on the surface, and then within a few minutes, you're kind of just back to normal. But something to look into for inflammation if you ever needed that quick fix and you didn't want to jump in the ocean.
Man, I felt great when I was doing those deals. But so how many podcasts have you done? How many? I know you're on. Y'all aren't doing the one anymore, are you?
No, it was a time thing. We really enjoyed doing it, but we were doing it every week for a while, and then with our schedules, and we were doing every other week, and then it's just like, I just couldn't have the time. But it was a lot of fun. It's the same thing, it's getting people together from the community, hearing their stories, bullshitting, busting each other's balls. It was a lot of fun to do that. So we ended, it's been probably 6 months now since we've done one. I definitely miss the fun of it, but also Sunday's my only day off, Vance. So I work Monday through Saturday, and I work my job, and then I work some other. I'm also a consultant for a lot of things with fitness and nutrition. And so I'm always doing something, always busy. So that was the one day we were filming. So it was a little too much at the time. But we got some good stories out of it. We had you on, which was one of my favorite episodes because we got to bust your balls too. We knew you were going to fit in perfectly.
That's what the only thing I remember is that for sure was that you made a tramp stamp. You had somebody draw some hands on your low back there, almost to the anal crack, that looked like mimic my tattoo. So which I thought I got a big kick out of.
With all due, I love your tattoo too, and that's one of my favorite memories of Summit, right? And the fact that you made that commitment. And I had my wife do that beforehand, and she's like, "What is your life turning into?" I don't know. If I can make Vance laugh, if I can make Vance laugh for a couple of minutes, and we can have a good time with that, that's it was worth it in the end. So, but oh my God, I didn't tell any of the boys I did that. It was just one of those things that just kind of popped into the show. So,
the other thing, it was something about my grinder profile. I can't remember how we got to my grinder profile. Somehow, something Ryan said got me over to my grinder profile somehow.
We had some pretty deep investigations into people's lives when you come on the Better Hit the Mat podcast, and you got to be sure all your closets are closed. You got to make sure.
Shit, it ain't nothing. I've been. I feel like I've been put up at the courthouse and had my britches pulled down for the world. I don't know if there's much more things they can figure out about me. So,
you did put yourself on a grand stage, my friend, and it worked. It absolutely worked. I mean, if anybody has done it as successfully as you have, I'd like to meet that person because you put it all out there, my man, and we all got to share the successes with you, and we could tell it's a pretty awesome ride that we take.
I'm going the other way right now. I got to figure out how to get it turned around again.
Yeah,
but hey, so tell me what all your certifications are. I know you've got all kinds of diet and health, nutrition, and DDP yoga certifications. Tell us about all the different certifications you got.
So I'm a level 2 DDPY instructor, so that was pretty cool. I got that in 2020, right before COVID hit right before the lockdown. So I established, I was running classes as a level 1 for about a year in a local gym. And that was a lot of fun. It was really cool. You've been to some live DDPY classes. There's nothing like being in a room full of other people doing it. The energy is just so much higher, and teaching in front of people, just helping people is way better than anything else we can do. So March 2020, basically everything kind of shut down. So during that time period, a bunch of us instructors hit the internet. We started teaching classes on Facebook Live and Zoom and places like that. And that kicked on for a couple of years. It was a lot of fun to kind of do that. So I was, there's only, I think, a handful of level 2s in the DDPY community. I'm also a certified nutrition coach. So that's one of those things I really, really like, helping people dumb down. And this is something I know you'll appreciate, is that there's so much information out there, Vance. Everybody's got their way, and their way is the best way. Mm-hmm. I became a certified nutrition coach to make sure that I can kind of get people from A to B in the fastest way possible without any of the confusion, right? Because you can read 9 different books, and every single book's going to tell you a different way to do it. And realistically, it's not that hard, right? It's just, if I were to write the most boring, effective fitness book in the world, it'd be Eat Less, Move More, right? Mm-hmm. Winner. No one wants that. They want the 30-day fix. They want the 5-minute abs. They want all that shit. So I do that as a service for people. And that's been very, very rewarding. I've got a chance to work actually with a couple of the Positively Unstoppable Challenge winners, which was pretty cool. It was fun to have that underneath the belt, helping them kind of get to their best peak. And I really thought, getting to coaching, it was going to be, I was really into the macros and the calories and meal plans and stuff like that. And the more and more I did it, I realized it's mostly accountability. I meet with my clients every single week, and I noticed just that meeting itself, just to make sure people stay on track, is the most effective thing that I can ever do. We can set any sort of macros we want, any sort of calories. As long as you're in a deficit, you're going to lose weight. It's going to happen unless you have a medical condition. Helping people find the most effective way to get from point A to point B in their lifestyle is so much fun, and it's rewarding for them, because it's just basically they have a plan. All they have to do is execute, and they meet at the end of the week and just tell me how they did. And it's been a lot of fun with that. I've worked with a lot of people in the DDPY community. I've worked with a lot of people outside of the community as well. I've worked with a lot of my patients that have had trouble, like diabetics and things like that, or people that just don't understand that, how to get what they want out of their life. So I've been doing that. I'm also been certified in the big thing that I've been doing with Dallas and DDPY is I'm certified in blood flow restriction training. So if you guys are familiar with the DDPY Jacked Straps that have been out for the last couple of years, I've been kind of the resident Jack Strap guru. I've been putting a lot of information out in the community of what blood flow restriction is, why it works, and it does work, which is pretty awesome. And what's the best practices of using these straps, because they released a product into the marketplace and provided zero information to the world. Yeah. They did nothing. And I was picked to do a transformation from Dallas with the straps, and I was really impressed with how it worked. And I learned all the science. I got certified through the University of Tennessee in blood flow restriction training. So I just took it upon myself to say, there's some really cool stuff that people need to know about. And that's been something I've been helping with as well. I've been consulting with people and companies on blood flow restriction training, which is super, super cool. And I really do feel that could be the future of fitness. I think that more and more people are going to be adopting these type of strategies and understanding how it works and what it is and what it's not. And I think it's just going to be something that can really change a lot of people's lives, just like DDPY did. It's one of those things where nobody would say yes to yoga as a man, right? You would be like, yeah, I'll try yoga. Mm-hmm. And we see how many people in the community, it's more men than women, and they've had these tremendous successes, you included.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's, you seem like, to me, I think you've touched on the 3 corners of a healthy life. Maybe if you threw meditation in there, then you'd have the 4 corners of the table. But you're talking nutrition, you're talking blood flow restriction, weight training type stuff, and then DDP yoga for the flexibility and the balance and everything else. I mean, it looks like you're kind of studying the whole body, and trying to learn what works best to me.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the fun thing as an instructor is everybody's different. So when you're an actual instructor and you're dealing with people, when you're watching the video, you only see what Dallas and Paige and everybody else on the screen is doing. And they have different abilities than a lot of other people. We all know this, right? Everybody's anatomy is different. Everyone is coming into DDPY with different injuries and different limitations. The real power of a coach is to be able to kind of sit down and say, okay, I know that this is what you're capable of, but let me show you that you can get to the same place just by little adaptations, right? So just little modifications, adaptations, and things like that. And that's been, I study so much anatomy. Like that's been one of the things I always did as a personal thing for myself, because I've always tried to be a little bit stronger and a little bit, more, bigger muscularly. So always studying anatomy and just trying to figure out how the body works. And that was one of the fun things as a coach, especially DDPY, is that it's just figuring out everybody's problems. We have some people that do this in a chair. We have some people that do this in beds. We have people that do this with one leg. We have people that do it with one arm. If they're watching the video and Dallas does something on the side and you don't have a leg, very, very difficult to figure out. So that's one of the fun things that as a coach that we can kind of put together. Going on your thing as well, we hit it right on the head, man. The most important thing is nutrition when it comes to everything, right? Mm-hmm. I think mindset is number 2. We can do as much yoga and workouts as we want. The mindset thing too, that's one of the things I work with people almost exclusively is mindset training too, is that believing that success is a real thing. Understanding and setting goals is probably the most important aspect of all of this, is because if you're, get in your car and you're trying to get to a destination and you don't have a GPS, you don't have a map, what are your chances of getting there? You're just going to start heading east and just eventually get there. I mean, having a game plan and having legitimate goals, and I know this is something that you always talk about, is goal setting is so, so important. I try to help people out. I was doing a lot of seminars in that with goal setting seminars, just sitting people down, and that SmackDown system that Dallas developed is very, very successful. It really, really does tailor down exactly what you need. And between the 4 of that, setting nutritional goals, setting your regular just life goals, having that mindset of knowing success is possible, and then doing DDPY, some sort of weight training, it's recipe for a happy life. You can get so much out of improving. It improves every aspect of your life for sure.
No, I think that's awesome, man. So what did you have to do to become a nutrition coach? What type
so I took a course. I worked through the, so I'm with the national, what is it? I don't even know my certification.
I'm going to put you on the spot
I do.
here.
I know. That's why I was thinking about something else.
It'll come
but it's
to
with
you.
the national, it's through I think the National Institute of Sports Performance. That's why I got that with. NSPA, National Sports Performance Association. That's what it is. NSPA. So it was an online course, which was great. It was very, very good. So you just have to, learn as much as you can about the field. It's something that I've always kind of done for myself too, because I've always struggled, man. I've read bodybuilding magazines, I've read nutrition books, and I've read everything, and so much conflicting information, right? Mm-hmm. Some people say protein, you have to have this much. Some people say you have to have this much fat. You can't get there without keto. You can't get there without intermittent fasting, whatever the newest, hottest thing was. I found myself in high school and like college eating like a competitive bodybuilder out of a Flex magazine, because that's what they were eating, not thinking that they're 300 pounds and on every drug in the world, So I had to go about myself and kind of learn, again, just like you have to learn the anatomy, you have to learn how your body processes food, what really food is, what do you need, what you don't need. And I found myself a lot of times helping other people do that. So I said, well, if I'm going to do this, I have to do it with a certification. I really want to make sure that I'm as accredited as possible. So I went through the NSPA. There's a couple really, really good programs that you can do. And I like this one because it's sports performance based. So it's the basics of nutrition, which you can teach everybody, but also if you want to optimize performance in certain aspects, I think that's really important. So that's their more spin on it as well. So I have my style, and my style is everything works, but you have to find what works best for each individual person. Understand what their lifestyle is, their preferences, what they like, what they don't like. There's no sense of making somebody do something that they don't like, because there's going to be a way that we can do it the same way with their own personal preferences. So that's what I got my accreditation with. And I really liked the program. I think it was very good.
Now you, just so that everybody knows you were a positively unstoppable challenge win champion in the very first year, correct?
Yes and no, right?
Yeah.
I won't tell the whole story, but I was a runner-up.
Yeah.
Without really knowing that I was a runner-up. I know that the champions, it's not the same as it is now. Now they have a big group of people. They have a grand champion. Everyone has that. The first one, there was a man and a woman that won. There was Chase Green, and then there was Christy Radford. Yeah. Tremendous transformations. They did a great job. And I happened to be the runner-up of the first one. So it was cool. I really I did that. I tried to make as big of a visual change that's ever been seen in the DDPY community for someone that wasn't significantly overweight. Because we've seen a lot of cool changes in, you're the poster child of this, my man, as some tremendous weight loss challenge. We've seen you, we've seen Dobbins, we've seen Chase, we've seen these just tremendous changes. We haven't really seen anybody go from being, just overweight to being muscular, as kind of on stage for what they did. So I really, really did my best. I put 16 weeks of just every single bit of effort I could to make the most shocking visual change that you could. And pictures are out there. I did my best. When it came to the Positively Unstoppable Challenge, they need a story, and I didn't have the story. I didn't. Yeah. I changed my body and I changed my mind, and I was a DDPY instructor and I did all the other things, but they typically like to have some sort of a great story along with it. I was missing that. So, it boosted me into the community, and it gave me a lot of exposure by helping other people, which was super cool.
I encourage anybody to go back here and look at the pictures back when Dr. Walent did that change. I think he's been, he's been a little bit, humble when he's talking about his change, because he got, what was your body fat at the end of the competition?
I read it like 10%. It might have been a little bit lower. So if anybody knows anything about body transformations, I only looked like that for like 3 days. Like, I looked great, right? But for those, you peak, that's what people do for bodybuilding competitions or photo shoots or something like that. I had 16 weeks for that one peak day. And I knew I booked a photo day and I booked a time, and I said, I have to be at my absolute 100% peak at that moment. So that involves, shaving your body, tanning, putting oil on, all these crazy things, all this lighting and stuff. But I have these pictures the rest of my life. I'm so proud of the fact that I was able to. The biggest change that I made during that 16 weeks is I never in my life believed that I could ever do something like that, ever. I just thought I would always be kind of stuck where I was from a physicality standpoint. And it was the first time I really believed in making that change. And that was the biggest difference, was the belief that it could be done. And I somehow pulled it off, man. It wasn't easy. It wasn't fun. And I'm doing this right now with a lot of people in the community. I'm doing jack transformations. So we're doing transformations to see how much, physicality we can get out of people and their physiques. And we have men and women making these really, really cool changes in their bodies. And these are going to be released hopefully within the next year, along with the next generation of whatever jack becomes. Yeah. But it was fun. It was a good time.
I mean, you can't say that you ate like a bodybuilder anymore. You were a bodybuilder for those 16 weeks. Describe what you did during that period and worked up to that peak day.
Every single thing, it was the same every single day. Like, it was just so routine. So it was 6 meals a day. Breakfast every single morning was the same breakfast. It was egg whites. It was oatmeal. And a little bit of fruit. Lunch was the same lunch of chicken and rice. Dinner was the same as chicken and rice, but it was all just based on just consistency. The workouts were pretty intense. I did DDPY every morning. And at that time I was training to be a level 1. So I was doing that level 1 workout every single morning. I used that as my cardio. I think that's one of the major benefits of DDPY people don't really look at, is that you can use that as cardio if you do it correctly, right? If you're squeezing and tensing, and if you want to make that a cardiovascular workout, you can. And then I was doing weight training 5 days a week, and it was progressive overload training. It was just a typical bodybuilding split, kind of a push-pull split. But the big thing is the consistency of the nutrition plan. You can build your body in many, many different ways. And if you don't have the proper nutrition, it's never going to show, for one, and you're just not going to get out of your body what you needed. So it was a strict diet for 16 weeks. The last month was like a strip diet, where you just all the way down that last week, you have to do kind of a peak thing that you normally isn't the healthiest thing to do, where you're restricting your body of some water and you're restricting your body of sodium, and you're just trying to get everything to look as tight as possible. And it worked. It's one of these things where I help clients with this on a little bit if they need that, if they have if they're already on a good plan and they need a weekend, just kind of strip off some water weight, we can kind of do that. It's not realistic, but everyone has to understand when they see these photographs in magazines and they see these Instagram people, it's not real life. It's some of these people, they'll get in shape for that photo shoot. They take 1,000 pictures, and then for 2 years in a row, those are your Instagram pictures, right? Perfect lighting, perfect tan, Photoshop. Like, so many people Photoshop, it's disgusting. And I can see this shit all the time. And it's not like we have so many desires to this aesthetic life. It's so fake. It's not realistic for a lot of people. And it's important for people to understand that if you saw that person the day before or after that photo shoot, they're not going to look like they did there. If they're in regular lighting, they're just going to look like a normal skinny dude or just a normal chick, with their clothes on. And then they can do sorts of strange things with angles and stuff. But
well, it's amazing, man. You look unbelievable in those. You did what most of us only dream of doing, and that's cut down to 10% body fat and get all muscled up to where we look like a bodybuilder,
Yeah, it's an interesting experiment in discipline. If people really want to know what it takes to do this type of things, it just takes so much discipline. You have to be willing to just say, food is fuel, and there's certain things you can do for that to get there. And I live a very disciplined lifestyle. As you can see in my 90-day journal, I'm going to show you here. I actually use this, Vance. I use this all the time.
Oh, man.
Oh, absolutely, brother. Absolutely. Let me show you some of my workouts. But yeah, so I always set goals and I always kind of document everything.
Oh,
and,
man.
I think it's super important is living a disciplined lifestyle. Most people, that's the recipe for success, is having discipline. Is as long as you can continue to do the same thing over and over from day to day, that's where you kind of get the best results. It's boring, it's monotonous and sometimes, but that's how you truly become from ordinary to extraordinary, and or as Vance likes to say, extraordinary, right? I know you love that word.
Yeah, no, extra usual.
Extra usual, that's the word. Yeah, that's the usual. I have extraordinary is on my cup right now. That's why.
Very cool.
Cup with Arnold on it.
Very cool.
But,
yeah, no,
it was a fun thing, and glad I did it. I'll never do it again, though. I don't think I have it in me.
well, no, you did it once, and that's all that matters, You proved to yourself, like you said. I mean, it's a mindset. You proved to yourself that you could do it. It's like me riding that 100-mile bike race. I know I can do it, but I also know I will never do it again. I can tell you that. Is that
your biggest accomplishment, Vance? I was going to ask you this question. Of all because you do some extreme things. Is that the hardest thing you've done?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Swimming, I never really have a hard time swimming. I've always been like a fish in the water, Yeah. But the biking or the walking, because of my knees, probably the hardest things I've done. But shit, I like swimming, man. The water's kind of my home. If I drowned, then I was really drunk. I can tell you.
Mary poisoned you. That's what I'm gonna be calling the cops first. Like, Mary poisoned him.
Hell, I float as it is. Plus, it's hard enough to get me under the water. But I swam 2.25 miles, 2.4. I swam that, and I did a Olympic. I think that's what it's called, triathlon. I think that's right. I did some sprints. I did a X50 aqua bike, where I just did the swimming and biking portion of an X50. So I did some things, but sitting on that damn bike, I was the last one to finish for 10 hours, and man, I sold my bike after that, and I quit.
You did?
Yes. And I tell you, my little brother. If anybody's taking up bikes out there, bicycling, for any type of endurance, my little brother's the one who is the bike person. So he tells me everything that I know about biking. I've used his bike and everything, custom handmade bike and all this stuff. But I finished that damn 100-mile race, and for the next week, I am picking dried skin flakes off of my rear from the chafing on that damn seat. And so I call my little brother and I say, I think I now know the meaning of no skin off my ass. And my little brother said, "Oh, I forgot to tell you about the butt butter. They make creams to chafing creams for riding that you put on while you're riding to keep that from happening." And I said, "Yes, wow. You forgot to tell me about the fucking cream, the butt butter." So I bought me a big jug of butt butter and then sold my bike. So if you ever need some butt butter, I got all the butt butter. You won't ever have to buy some more again. But I'm not going.
You heard it first, guys.
Yeah, but I'm not going to.
If you need some butt butter.
Yeah, butt butter, and that's what it's called on Amazon, butt butter. But it's chafing cream, and my little brother told me everything else I needed to know, but he failed to tell me that. Either whether it was intentional or neglectful, I don't know.
So outside of the butt chafing, so how long after that race did it take your body to kind of get back to where you felt like you were human again?
It was crazy. Because I was, this damn, it's called the Hotter Than Hell 100. It's in Wichita Falls, which is north of Dallas, in August, which the temperatures are almost always in the 100. And it's the biggest biking event in the Southwest. I mean, they just don't do the 100-mile. They've got all different mile races, and it's a days. It's like a 3 or 4 days events, and they've got vendor booths, and it's a big deal for the biking world. Like they do crit racing at night. I didn't know what a crit was, and then they do. They have off-road bike trails, and they have gravel trails, and then if you really want some abuse, they mix them all together. You can do, they call one of them the Quadzilla, and they all call the other one the Chupacabra. One of them you're doing like the 100-miler, you're doing the the 60-mile gravel, you're doing the off-road, and you're doing a marathon or something like that. They mix them all. If you're into endurance stuff, they can help relieve you of that desire to be endurance. But I only did the 100, and to answer your question, I was the last one to finish it. I mean, you had to get to this big blow-up Red Devil. They called it Hell's Gate, the 65-mile mark by 12:30. If you didn't get to Hell's Gate by 12:30, then they cut you off and make you go a shorter route. But if you get to the big Red Devil by 12:30, then you can go on out to the 100-mile trek. And then once you get out that way, so you've got to skip these rest areas as slow as I ride to get to the Red Devil in time. So I made it to the Red Devil, but from the Red Devil for the last 35 miles, I hit every stop. I ate everything at every stop. I took advantage of every convenience, every stop along the way, and I was always the last one to the stop and the last one And so out of 13,000 people, I was the last one to cross the finish line. But anyway, I had eaten all this stuff, and when I weighed in, I weighed like, I don't know, 10 or 15 pounds heavier than I weighed before I started the race. And it was because of all the electrolytes and all the carbs. I mean, just everything I was stuffing in. I was doing all these sports and science, they call them gels. You squeeze in the gels, electrolytes, and I was doing stuff you put in your drink to drink, and it was all this stuff they sold me at the vendors. They said I had to have these pills, these sports pills for your muscles or something. I don't know. They sold me all kinds of shit before. I'd walk down to vendors and they'd just say, "Here, this is your first time you need this and this." You know, I was like a big red sucker on my forehead, you know. So I bought all this shit and I ate everything, but it took me a week. But it was almost like every day that the water weight just fell off of me, but it took me a week to get back to where I kind of felt like I was normal again, you know. That long answer for your story, but it was weird. I was expecting to have lost weight, but it was like my body blew up from all the liquid and the sodium and the electrolytes and everything I was doing, you know.
We underestimate the word carbohydrate because every time you're eating carbohydrates, it holds on to water in your system. And that's the whole idea of those endurance races. They have to make sure, with people sweating so much, you have to put so much carbohydrate back in your system and so much. I mean, that's the only fuel you're running on. So it totally makes sense. I can't believe it's 15 pounds. That's
it was something
crazy.
like that. If I went back and looked at it, it was something ungodly. I mean, something. It was high enough to really. People, you know, questioned if I didn't have a health problem or something, but then it immediately fell off, you know.
Yeah, I'm sure the inflammation too didn't help anything either. Just the idea of just how much your body went through. But man,
I'm telling you,
I don't know.
I ain't gonna do that again.
They should have psychology tests, but they should have psychologists on site for those things.
I did it once. Hey, but I tell you what, you know. When you're the last one to finish, I crossed that finish line, and a young girl came up and handed me a medal, and another young girl came up and handed me a bottle of water. Then a photographer took a picture in it, and then it was like I was standing on an island in the middle of nowhere. I didn't know where my damn truck was, you know. Right. All those thousands of people trying to get down there early in the morning and find a parking space. And I just, you know, and I had to find a restroom quick because of my intestines. And it was just miserable. And I didn't even know, you know, I've been riding that bike 10 hours, and I didn't even know which way to ride to try to find my truck. It was a miserable experience, man. So, anyway, that's a story. That's another day. This is about your stories. What's your craziest endurance thing you've done?
A 5K that I ran yesterday, Smitty's run. I've never really done things. It's so funny. I was training for this 5K like it was a fucking marathon. You know, I'm taking a month of not a runner. I've never done stuff like that, so I haven't really had the opportunity. It's a time thing with me. You know, it's just because I'm so busy. You know, I read the Goggins books and stuff like that, and hear all these crazy things and see what people do. I have an uncle who's in his his 60s, and he still does Ironman triathlons. And this man was not an athlete as a young man. He took it up as a later edge, and he's just got that mental edge where he can get his body to do these amazing things. So I got to go to an Ironman triathlon and see him finish, and that was one of the most impressive things I've ever witnessed. I've been to sporting events, I've done all these things. To see people of all likes, you know, all ages, males, females, young, old, heavy, skinny, all finishing this race. And at the end of the race, what I forgot about is, like you said, these people still have to grab their fucking bikes. I'm imagining them toppling over. If I did this race, I would want to be like put on a stretcher and left out of bed. You still have to grab your bike. You still get all your wet clothes. Yeah. I totally took that for granted. I was like, man, I've seen all these people that after these tremendous performances, and then they have to basically clean up everything. It's really crazy to see.
But see that Ironman. See, I didn't know this. Ironman. Let me see if I can get my numbers right. But The Ironman, I think, is 140.6. And so what that means, if you add everything up, which is a marathon, 26 miles, and then a bike ride, I think, is 100 miles, and then the run. The marathon's 26. The bike ride's like 112. I can't remember. And then the swims. But if you add up the swim, the bike, and the marathon, it's 140.6 miles. And so the next one, when you see on the back of these cars, that oval number says 140.6 or 75.3. That means, so 140.6 is the full Ironman. At 75.6, that's a half Ironman. That means that all three events adds up to 75.6 miles. The X50 that I did is the next step under that. All three events add up to X50. But I didn't do the running. I just did the biking and the swimming. So mine would have been 50 minus the running. That's how far I did.
Yeah.
Mine was like 25 miles. Let's see. No, I think it was I can't remember shit. 25 mile or 40 mile bike ride and a 2 mile swim or 1 mile swim. I can't remember. But then, so the X50 is the next one under a half. And then under that's the Olympic. And the Olympic is, I only did one full Olympic, and it was a mile swim, a 25 mile bike ride, and I think a 6 mile run. I think that's right. I can't remember. But then under that you got the sprints, and then you got the super sprints, which is even smaller than that. So there's and you can do any distance combinations, or you can just do, say, an aqua bike or an aqua run or a run bike only, not the swim. So you could do any combination of any, if the promoter allows it, of the race. And so, there's all kinds of, but the Ironman, the ones that do the Ironman, those are the guys that are crazy, man.
Yeah, he travels all over the world doing it too. He's done Hawaii, he goes over Japan, stuff like that. Do you find that those races are addictive? Like, how did you, because you really, you were doing them, all these type of things constantly.
Well, I did 20
what got
in
in
1
your mind
year.
that you just, it just,
at first year I lost all the weight, and I started getting my life back. So the second year, I signed up for one in April, and before I did it, I went ahead and signed up for them for the whole year and paid for them, and that way I couldn't back out. If I knew, and so I did basically 20 events in 8 months, I think 7 or 8 months. So it was. I was in great shape, but that 100-mile bike ride broke me though. I didn't mind the shorter stuff, but I can swim anyway, but that 100-mile bike ride killed me, man. I don't know how them people do it.
willingly, all the time, man. Ugh.
And they say 13,000 people show up for that hotter than hell 100. That's that's how many people they estimate.
Wow. Crazy. It's a different world that I live in.
All right, so now I want to talk about the blood flow restrictions. You're the DDP yoga expert on the Jacked Straps. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so you have them, right? I've seen you work out with them before. Have you had pretty good results? Have you enjoyed working out with them on?
Yeah, especially lifting weights. Yeah, I love it. Man, I love those things.
So what's great about blood flow restriction is, and for people that are listening that don't know anything about blood flow restriction, it sounds crazy on paper, right? So what we're doing is you apply these cuffs at your upper arms or your upper legs, and you're applying a certain amount of tension around those cuffs to reduce the amount of blood going into an acting muscle, and it completely restricts the blood going back, the venous blood going back to your heart. So this is something that we use now in physical therapy all the time to help improve recovery in certain parts of the body. And it's been shown in research that we can actually build the same amount of muscular size, shape, and endurance as if you were using much, much heavier weights. So when using blood flow restriction, as Vance is doing when he lifts weights, you only have to use 20 to 30% of your 1 rep max. So if you think about a certain exercise, you think about the weight that you can lift just for 1 rep as heavy as you can, you're only using 10 to 20% of that while using blood flow restriction. And there's a lot of research showing that you're building just as much muscle size and strength. So this is a game changer for a lot of people because, people that do DDPY or people that are getting a little older or people that are starting to get banged up, we're getting similar results without beating up your tendons and your joints. That's what's really hard on the body about weightlifting. You think about the 3 big ones: bench press, squat, and deadlift. Tremendous exercises to build body strength, tremendous exercise to build muscular size. Very, very hard on our body. Bench press is very hard on your shoulders and elbows. Squat is really, really hard on your knees and back. And same with your deadlifts, right? So at a certain point in your life, you can continue to get stronger and stronger and stronger, but your body has to be able to maintain that. And this is one of those alternatives where you can use blood flow restriction on deload days or off days or every day, and you can still get similar results without having to put as much tension on your joints. And the other cool thing is that there's a lot of research showing now that it actually builds tendon strength as well, which is something that it's very difficult to do when we're lifting weights. You're with tension, you're building some tendon and ligament strength, but with this, we're taking a lot of that strain off of those and still building the same amount of tendon strength. So much opportunity. Dallas is a mad scientist. The fact that he just kind of figured out that DDPY works, he just made it up. He did power yoga and added in some different elements, and it worked really, really well for a lot of people. Incorporating this into DDPY, I think, is one of the smartest things he's ever done because DDPY has some great, great elements to it. Building overall body strength is very good, but you get to a certain point, you're just using your own body weight. This is something we can add in here as well, where you can build a little bit more size and muscle with doing the same amount of work, which is awesome. Super, super cool.
So tell me you've done. I can't tell you how many people have told me that they go look at your videos to learn about the straps and how to use them and things. So I want to thank you for making those videos that are very helpful, and they've helped a tremendous amount of people. So thank you very much for doing that. And can you tell them a little bit about how they worked? And I know you explained a little bit of the science there, but what I'm talking about is the mechanics of the strap, because I think I broke my first pair because I didn't know how it worked and I over tightened them. And
so there's a big issue with those straps breaking. There's many different types of blood flow restriction cuffs. So if we look at the most simplistic, if you just took a rubber band, a large band, and you tied it across your arm and you applied some tension, that's one way to restrict that blood flow. And that's probably the least safe way because we don't know how much tension we're actually putting around that limb, and it's just not controlled. There's some units on the market which cost thousands of dollars that are pneumatic. Think about like a blood pressure cuff, right? So the doctor puts a blood pressure cuff around your arm and they use a pump. And what they're doing is creating the same sort of thing. They're creating tension around that. They're stopping the blood flow to check your blood pressure. So this is in between. So with the DDPY Jacked Strap, there's a crank mechanism on here. So those of you guys that know that have it, there's a crank on there. As you turn clockwise, it increases the tension around the cuff. And then there's this little buckle on there that you pop and it releases some of that tension. So one of the most important things, this is considered practical blood flow restriction. If someone's doing this in a physical therapy office, they have to know the exact amount of tension that they're using based on what your blood pressure is, right? So that's very, very specific. There's a thing called limb occlusion pressure. That's a number that they determine. They pump up that cuff to that exact pressure, and then they do the exercises. In a DDPY workout in the gym, you don't have the luxury of putting a little thing on your finger, doing your blood pressure and figuring all this out. So this is called practical blood flow restriction. What I usually incorporate most people to do is I say, try to put that cuff to about 70%, right? So if you imagine at a scale from 1 to 10, 1 is it's just hanging on your arm. It's just barely there. 10 is it's squeezing your arm to it's, going to turn purple. What you want as a tension is around 6 out of 7 out of 10. If you get to that pressure, that's where you're going to have an effective amount of blood flow restriction. There's a lot of research that shows more is not always better, right? So lifting heavier weights while doing blood flow restriction isn't as good as lifting the lighter weights, and keeping those cuffs occluded longer or tighter isn't necessarily better as well. So the sweet spot that they found is about a scale from 7 out of 10. So when you're doing your workout, Dallas is going to tell you to jack them. There's a little crank mechanism. You're going to crank it up. Think about 7 out of 10. If you're starting to notice that there's any sort of problems with your fingers, feeling like they're getting, what I teach my specific class, I call it the PPs, which is paresthesia, meaning that if your fingers are starting to get tingling or if they're starting to turn white, that's definitely that the cuff is way too tight. So we want to look for that. What we're looking for is what's called capillary refill. You're going to be able to press your finger. If your finger is white and you press your finger, it continues to stay white. It doesn't turn pink again. That means that the cuff is too tight. Or if you start noticing any sort of numbness or tingling in your fingers, that's too tight. So one of the limitations of the cuffs, as Van said, is if they stay too tight for too long and you're flexing your muscles, there's a opportunity for them to break. One of the issues also, as well as the manufacturer of these cuffs, I don't work for DDPY and I don't work for the manufacturer of the cuff, but many people in the community have broken these cuffs because I don't think they were designed to be used the way that Dallas has been using them, where we're popping and we're cranking them up and popping them often throughout a session. If you're doing traditional BFR, what you're doing, so if Vance is lifting weights, let's say he's doing a bicep curl, what he's going to do is he's going to occlude the cuffs. He's going to make them tight, 7 out of 10. And then he's going to do 4 complete sets of bicep curls before he loosens them. So he's going to do a set of 30, really, really slow reps of bicep curls. Then you take about a 30-second break. You keep the cuff tight. Then you do a set of 15. Then you take 30 seconds, another set of 15, another 30 seconds, then another set of 15, and then you pop the cuff. And at that point, you're probably going to reach full muscular failure using a weight that might be like 10 or 15 pounds. I've done it to the point where sometimes doing like side lateral raises, I haven't had to use any weight because my muscles would just completely give out. So it's really cool if you have these cuffs and you're traveling or something like that, or using a hotel gym, or if you just want to build a small home gym and you probably don't need weights any higher than maybe 25s to get a full effective workout using blood flow restriction. So there's a lot of science that goes behind this. A lot of it, where we come up with the protocols of the weightlifting and with Dallas doing the workouts is, there's a lot of specific data that's been in scientific research of just what's the most effective way to use these cuffs. So we're trying to mimic that as much as we can in the DDPY workouts. So I've been helping Dallas incorporate some different ideas in there. In his new workouts, you're going to see there's a lot of pushing and pulling. So instead of pushing in one direction and then just slowly letting go, we're going to be doing both. You're going to push out and then you're going to pull back. And that's how the old DDPY worked. But with the cuffs on, you're going to see a tremendous difference in the effectivity of those workouts. Heart rate's going to go through the roof. You're going to notice you're going to get a really, really good pump in the muscles. And that day after, you're going to feel a little bit sore, which is really cool.
All right, so tell me, you had said before when you were weight training for your competition, for the Positively Unstoppable Challenge, I think you called it progressive weight training, or what did you call it?
Yeah, progressive overload.
Progressive overload.
So what that means.
What does that mean?
Yeah. So if you want to get physically stronger, if you want to build a muscle, our body adapts very, very quickly, right? Mm-hmm. So say you're doing 135 pounds on the bench press. You can't your entire life continue to do 135 because your body gets a little bit stronger and then your body won't grow anymore. So what we're doing when you think about progressive overload, we're always thinking about your next workout. We want to be slightly heavier or more reps, right? We want to apply more tension on the muscles. So where this came from, there's this, it's kind of a myth. It's about this guy named Milos, and he was like a wrestler or something like that. But he grew up and he had this little baby calf. And then there was this big giant mountain that he had to climb every single day. So what he did was he put this calf on his back and started climbing up the mountain. And then the next day, obviously everything grows, right? So week after week, this calf is getting his bigger cow. And he's getting stronger and stronger. So he's putting this on his back and going up that hill. And every single day, he's getting physically stronger as the calf is getting bigger and he's carrying it up the hill. So that's kind of the myth of the idea behind progressive overload. So you always have to be pushing your body to something that's a little bit heavier or one more rep. So obviously, infinitely, we will never get to that point where we're all maxing out at 1,000 pounds on things like that. But if you do want to get bigger or stronger, you have to imply some sort of progressive overload. So with the cuffs, that would be, instead of doing 15 reps, maybe the next workout you do 17 reps. Or instead of doing a 10-pound weight, you're doing a 15-pound weight. You just have to continually, incrementally be getting stronger with each and every workout. And that's how the body grows, because you get to a certain point where your muscle only grows when it has a certain amount of tension against it. And if the body gets used to that amount of tension, it's not going to continue to get bigger and stronger.
I'm probably going to get this wrong, but I think, Steve, you told me you should be repping 70% of your max. Have you ever heard that before?
With the blood flow restriction cuffs?
Well, no, I mean
or
just in general in lifting. No, with the blood flow.
It depends.
Yeah.
Yeah. So 60 to 70, if you're using blood flow restriction, that's way too high. But if you're using just regular progressive overload, yeah, it depends on the exercise and depends on the capability. So, and Steve's very smart. Steve's wife actually won a national transformation contest, which was the precursor to all of like the Positively Unstoppable. It was called Body for Life, which is this thing. Yeah. His wife won this challenge, and this was a big deal back in the day, like a really, really big deal. So Steve used to be a personal trainer too. So yeah, if you're in the gym, 60 to 70% of your 1 rep max is where you want to hit if you want to build muscular size and strength. That's definitely true on most of your big lifts. Now, if you think about some small, these are like full body lifts. So you're thinking about like bench, squat, and deadlift. Mm-hmm. For some of the smaller lifts, which are, sometimes that's a little too heavy. Sometimes you want to do those at a little bit more reps and lesser weight, but it's all nuanced, it's all nuanced, but yeah, Steve's right on the head with that one.
So anytime Steve tells me anything, I give it a lot of weight, I think he's an incredibly smart guy, as well as Dallas. Both those guys are geniuses, and so I give both of them, whatever they recommend, a lot of weight. So when I broke my cuffs, this is what I think, and Dr. Walent, tell me if you think I'm off or not, but I didn't realize that the cuff there was just some kind of little mechanism in there that just tightened it when you twisted it. I didn't know if it was air. I didn't know what it was doing. And so every time I would put it on, I would just twist it until it got tight. And I would never make sure it untwisted or anything. So when I put it back on the next time, I would just twist it. And at some points, it wouldn't get tight anymore, and I kept twisting, and it broke. And
sounds like it.
Yeah, after that, I figured out that if I make sure it's kind of right in the midpoint when I put it on, and then it can go either way, and I hadn't had that problem anymore.
Yeah, there's a lot of nuances, and that product is evolving, right? So the company that makes that, they've been putting out newer generations of that too, because I think they've been having some issues with some of the materials they were using. I think that the cord that's inside is maybe just not strong enough for long-term use. This isn't a secret. Dallas has told a lot of people about this, but he's in the process of possibly developing his own cuff. And I've been helping with some of the R&D on that just to make sure that we can fix some of the issues, because a lot of the cuffs have broken, and as easy as they are to use, right? This is the thing. On paper, it's just a cuff you put around your Titan. But as you just described just there's so many nuances without knowing exactly how to use it. A lot of people just aren't getting the effectivity out of the cuff, or it's breaking. So these are important things that we need to talk about. And that's why I did all these videos and if anybody's listening out there that has bought Jacked Straps and haven't seen them, they're on Facebook. If you just Google my name, if you just search my name on Facebook, you'll see all this series of videos. Cover everything about how to use these cuffs, how not to use them. And the most important one that everybody has to watch is who should not use blood flow restriction, because there's a pretty large population of people that it's not safe for. So you always want to make sure you go through that first. You do that with every exercise program too, is consult with a physician to make sure that it's okay. And then just using them properly. Anything that we do in the fitness and exercise space have to do properly. Anybody can do crazy things. If you're not doing it properly, you're going to get hurt. So,
yeah, I mean, you can go sit in a lake 10 minutes in 20-degree weather if you don't know what you're doing,
Exactly.
Well, so tell me how you got into the DDPY world. How did you get into this this whole sphere of people?
I have a pretty cool story that matches a lot of other people. So I was always into training. I was an athlete in high school. Didn't get to play in college sports because I was really invested in schooling and I couldn't play at all. So I was always in the gym, but I never looked like I worked out in the gym. I never really felt like I worked out. I trained really hard. I ate what I thought was right. So at my local gym here, my buddy gave me the original YRG video and he said, "Hey man, my back's been killing me. This is Diamond Dallas Page. I'm going to do this yoga workout." And the first word I heard was yoga. And before he even finished asking, I said, "There's no possible way I'm doing a yoga workout with you. Like, find somebody else. That's crazy." That was the dumbest decision I ever made. Like but everybody has that reaction when they hear the word yoga, right? So he finally convinced me to do it. And I believe it was like whatever the equivalent of energy is now with the new DDPY. I did that workout and it was really hard for me. And I thought I was in good shape. Obviously I was in not good shape at all. And I woke up the next morning though, but what I noticed, my back, my hips, my knees didn't hurt at all. Everything felt good. And that's the first day in years that I woke up without having some minor back pain. Never had injuries or any problems like that. But I was like, wow, this might be something onto this. And so I started and I stuck with it. And I've literally done it, I think, almost every day since then. And that was back in 2017. So in 2018, I joined the DDPY Facebook group and got in the community. I posted some pictures of a transformation that I made of where I started and where I ended. And Dallas contacted me, gave me a phone call, and which he does to a lot of people, which is super exciting. And he said, "Hey man, I really appreciate your transformation. It looked amazing and we want to put you on the website." And so I was like, "Oh, that's great." So I was cloud nine, knowing Diamond Dallas Page called my phone. That was like the weirdest feeling. And which is like, he knows the power of that. You know, that changes people's lives. 2 minutes of his day. He's the busiest dude in the world. If you know anything about Dallas's lifestyle, the guy is so fucking busy.
It's amazing.
The fact that he still does that, he does that every day to people, right? People that deserve it. You know, he goes out of his way to let them know that they're doing a great job. So 2018 hits. He was at a Comic-Con about 2 hours away. I saw it just pop up and I was like, yo, he gave me 2 minutes of his time. I'm going to drive 2 hours. I'm going to go visit and say hi. And I'm going to thank him and let him see that, you know, my transformation and stuff. So I went there and he was so engaging. He remembered the phone call. He introduced me to everybody that was there and stuff like that. Made a really, really big deal about me being there. And I just literally thought I was going to go there and he was going to throw the belt on me. We're going to take a quick picture and then he's going to shuffle me out of there. But he is everything that people described as. He's just super engaging. If you put the time and effort in, he's going to give you time. And so from then on, I was full force in. I started training for the L1 level 1 training to be a DDPY instructor. I won, you know, the runner-up to the Positively Unstoppable Challenge in 2019, and then got really heavily involved in the community doing 100-day DDPY challenges. So that's one of the things that to get more people involved. A lot of people don't feel like they could do a workout every single day for 5 days in a row. So we open up a 100-day challenge where a whole group of us get together on Facebook and we encourage each other to work out for 100 straight days. And it doesn't have to be a really hard workout every day, but it's just the accountability of knowing that you're doing something every day. And I get so much feedback of all the things that I've done in the community. That's been the biggest impact for a lot of people, is that they never believed that they could do that. And through encouragement with other people and competition between people, and we've created teams and made all these fun parts of it. We've done, 6 or 7 of those in a row. And then, like I said, just recently after that, I got the L2, and then blood flow restriction thing happened. So that's been the biggest thing that I've done with the team at DDPY is really helping everybody get on page with BFR. So it's really cool. Vance is going to agree with me, I'm sure, about this. The coolest part of this is it's not a workout program. It's a lifestyle, right?
Absolutely.
It's changing so much about your mindset, your nutrition, your fitness. Everything's got to all come together. Alexa's interrupting us right now. But yeah, it's just been one of these amazing things where
Alexis, play Grateful. Oh, she's on your headphones.
I got headphones on.
I was gonna go ahead. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I thought I could get to do something, man. Go ahead.
Get something fun. I can honestly say that this program has changed every aspect of my life. Like literally from the inner core of who I am, from my self-confidence to every other aspect of how I interact with people. And the community is an awesome tool. There's some really amazing people in this community. This is why I love that you do these interviews with people, is because some people are on the fringes. There's people in the community that are very well known that you see every single day. And there's people that are on the fringes that work just as hard and made just as good transformations, if not better, that no one knows about, and that's what's cool about get-togethers like Summit and things like that, where you meet these people. I'm like, wow. Vance, when I met you in person, like that was the first time I'd gotten in a group of this, like people like this. You were the first person that, I think it was, day one, I was busting your balls about you buying me something. We were waiting in line together, and I was making you try to buy me something, just fucking around with you. But it was so cool because you were just everything, like to see somebody that's real, that's made those changes, is totally different than seeing that picture on Facebook. And getting to know that person's personality and know that, holy shit, man, this person had really done that. And it's so cool. I've met so many amazing people in this community that you think it's like 1 in a million, and why does our group have 10,000 1 in a million stories? It's very strange.
Well, no, I mean, that's
very strange.
I was the same way when I went to that summit. I didn't know what to expect, or I didn't know really anybody else in the community. I think Dallas had me out there once or twice for the interview along the way, but that was really my first time in to meet everybody, and everybody there, down to the last man and woman, had a better story than mine. I mean, it was just amazing. I mean, you couldn't, every time you talk to somebody, then they'd tell you their story, and then you'd go talk to someone else and they'd tell you their story, and it was just it was a life-altering, life-changing event. It was crazy.
Sure was.
And it's pretty neat.
And that's one of my favorite things is on a bad day, everyone has bad days. We can't all admit, we can't always pretend like everything's good. That's the social media bullshit we have to deal with. Everyone's day is awesome. Everyone's life is awesome. You have days that are down. I see sometimes I'll see a post that resonates with me in the group of just someone that has a completely different life than I do. And I see their struggle, or I see their triumph, which I think is more important to me. I love celebrating other people's triumphs. You see these amazing stories and you're just like, shit, man, today's not a bad day. It's a great day. That person is having the day of their life right now. So it's a pretty powerful tool. It's power in numbers, man. Power in numbers.
I've heard Dallas tell me or tell other people, you'd say you're feeling down, and talk to Dallas, and he'd ask you, well, have you been diagnosed with cancer? And no. Well, what the hell are you bitching about? Get back on the mat, Yep. It's just, it's all perspective and relative, to where you are in life. And I've told some people on here, I really think it's Dallas's, that's his superpower, is that nobody can tell that man no. I mean, he's a force of nature, whatever he's put himself into. It's crazy.
He's created this cult of all of us lunatics.
Yeah.
It's so true, though. I mean,
when you get a tattoo, that means you're officially integrated into the cult.
Oh, 100%. You were the first person right there. Drink that Kool-Aid. It's awesome, man. It's one of those things like, oh man, that's the ultimate commitment. I love it. But you're right, man. He could use his powers for probably evil as opposed to good as well, right? But I mean, to think about how many lives, I can't imagine, every now and I'm sure you get reached out to all the time that people say, I resonate with your story. That's got to be every freaking minute of every day of his life. He's got to get phone calls, text messages, emails every second saying, wow, you changed my life. How do you not get a giant head from that? Like, how do you not think that you are like the greatest thing in the world? He still stays really humble, still stays grinding himself. I mean, when's the last time that guy missed a workout, And Jesus.
Absolutely. And then, and I want to point out something, once you get past, and kind of start seeing the background, pull the curtain back and see the wizard a little bit, so to say. But everybody in his life is people that he's taken care of over the years, family, friends, he, the people that he felt like helped him come progress in wrestling, like Dusty Rhodes and Jake the Snake. I mean, he's always helping these people that helped him in life, and he's got such a big heart, and he's just an amazing man.
Yep. I was worried about meeting him. You never want to meet your idols, or you never want to meet somebody because you don't want to get disappointed. And I was absolutely shocked of just like what you see is what you get there. And I have also had the privilege of kind of getting behind the curtain a little bit too. Yeah. And again, it was shocking because there's stuff on the front, there's stuff behind, and it was just as good behind as the front. So it's pretty cool to see.
I'll tell you a funny story at retreat. Retreat when I went to it that one year. Just so you know about how strict he is with food, we're down in Mexico, and that they, for people that don't know, they used to do a retreat every year, and it was a week in Mexico, and you could spend as much as you wanted, all inclusive. But it was at a place where they had some control over the food, and you could get the organic, non-GMO, gluten and dairy free, but the whole mass of people that are there for the DDP yoga people, and Dallas. So Dallas, if you got to go to dinner with Dallas, it was a big thing because everybody there wanted to go to dinner with Dallas, and so Dallas asked Mary and I to go to dinner with his then wife, and Lacey. And Lacey's boyfriend, and so it was at this Italian restaurant. So a really nice Italian kind of steak place, kind of really nice. We sat down, and as soon as we sat down, Dallas said, "I forgot my pasta," and getting from one end of the damn resort to the damn restaurant, it took 20 minutes by one of those little carts to get you there. And Dallas said, I'm going to get my pasta. So he leaves. He leaves and he goes back to the room, leaves us sitting there, and gets his pasta that he packed and took to Mexico. And so we're sitting there 20 minutes. He comes back and sits down, and then when he orders, he says, "Okay." I said, "I want this dish." He said, "I want this pasta, but I want the chefs to make it out of this pasta right here." And the waiter said, "Well, sir, we've got our own pasta that we use." He goes, "I know your pasta sucks. I want the I want the cook to make it out of this pasta right here." And he goes, "Okay."
Wow.
That son of a bitch is serious about his food now.
I'm going to do that at McDonald's tomorrow. I'm going to go stop by the drive-thru with a hamburger patty and be like, "Here, can you throw this on your..."
Yeah, that's right. That's what I want my hamburger patty made out of. I mean, not just in America, but he carries it to Mexico for the specific...
Taking that shit through customs.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, my God.
Hey, guys,
it's the commitment of his life.
Oh, man.
That's the lifestyle.
Yeah.
That's so funny.
Yeah. So one of the questions I ask everybody is, how has social media affected your journey? Because it's been such a big part of mine, if any.
Yeah. This is such a tough question. If I could, I would prefer to not be on any social media at all. I don't see a lot of, in my personal life, I don't use it as much as I should. I see that there's so much good for social media, but then if you're looking for the bad, it's there too. So I'm kind of indifferent on it. I really got into social media mostly because of, I got on Facebook because I was doing a personal development course, which was, it's called the School of Greatness. So I love personal development. I'm always trying to become the best version of myself. I got onto Facebook because they had a Facebook group and you had to be part of that. Mm-hmm. And then because I was on there, that's how I found the DDPY Facebook group as well. So that's helped out a lot. And then I use that for my business with promoting personal training and we were doing online coaching. Outside of that, I'm not on Instagram. I'm not on Twitter. I'm not on any of the other ones. I'm only on Facebook. So for me, if I could be completely off Facebook, I think I'd be better with that. If I could be away from this type of phone and just have a flip phone, I'm that guy. Like, I prefer not to be staring at my phone all the time. And I did get to a point, man, where I was getting that jonesing, which was weird, where I was realizing, like, I didn't see Facebook for 8 minutes or whatever that feeling is you get in your brain. You scroll through. It's a shocking feeling to know how much that social media can control your brain. It can control your life. So if I do use it, I want to use it for the good. But unfortunately, the only negative aspect that I ever get in my life is in fucking Facebook. The only negative thoughts that I ever get, the only negative stuff I ever see or hear, because I don't watch TV, we don't watch the news, we don't do any of that shit, and it's from there. So it's half and half, man. It's tough. I wish I could use it more for good. I'm just too fucking busy.
Yeah, no, I understand. So you don't watch TV at all?
Not really. Heather and I have like Hulu and Facebook and stuff, but we don't really watch too much. She really likes some movies and stuff, so I'll sit down and try to watch with her. And if I had my choice, I'm more of like a podcast and reading type of guy. But I've watched more TV since we've gotten together than I ever have, just because it's just there's some TV shows I'll watch that's great, it's fun to watch, but I don't have the attention span or the time for a 2-hour movie. I always have something going on. It's got to be kind of quick. So I love podcasts in the car. I love learning too. Like, I love there's opportunities where if you're not doing anything, you can kind of learn about something you don't know or improve a skill. So I'm just one of those dorks. So
no, I do. I love audiobooks, listening to audiobooks. That's what I when I'm working here at home, I usually have an audiobook running in the background, Maybe I'll get something from osmosis from it or something. I just remember little snippets.
It's so great.
Here. Yeah, snippets here, like that woman who husband was not the father of any of the 9 kids. I remember that, but I don't remember the name of the book.
Yeah.
But anyway, so tell me about Heather. Tell me about the woman that finally made Dr. Tom Walent an honest man.
She is the love of my life. So I'm super lucky. I met her here in Wilmington. We've been together for a few years now. So she's awesome. She's the most supportive person. It takes a special person to be able to kind of deal with how busy I am. And I know that it's hard. And I've worked so hard of improving that, of trying to get more time for us. But she's awesome. So people that have met her just knows she's just super funny and super easy going. She's a jewelry maker. So she has 2 online businesses. She has her own designs that she sells, and she also has a jewelry supply store. So she stays pretty busy. She works out of the house, which is really, really helpful because then when I'm at the house, she's always here. And we're pretty independent with our lives, but it just gels perfectly together. And, you always look back at your life and think there was that one before that or the one before that you thought was like the one you're going to marry, the one like she is definitely without question the one I should be married to. She's just perfectly compatible to the things that I like to do. She works out as well. She's really into fitness, and she's been very supportive at DDPY. She does the workouts with me a lot. When I was training, she was always coming to my classes and things like that. But yeah, she's just awesome. And those of you guys that know her, we have the same exact sense of humor, which is we just don't take life very seriously. And she really, truly loves life. She loves family. So very, very compatible woman. I couldn't say enough nice things.
Well, I'm glad she's got a sense of humor because hopefully I won't offend her with this next comment.
Yes.
I hope her jewelry making is a better reflection of her tattoo drawing skills.
Correct. So, not her finest moment.
Yeah, when you said you got that tattoo, I said, well, shit, you should have spent more money, Tom.
So here's the funny part about that, Vance. I had a massage scheduled the next day, and I forgot that fucker was on my back. I completely forgot. So we did the podcast, had a couple of drinks while we were doing the podcast. Always have fun. It's always Sunday. Worked all day Monday. I get to the massage place right after my work because I used to try to go once a month, and I forgot it was on there, and I couldn't imagine if it looked like two little stupid baby hands on my, like right where my tramp stamp area would be.
Yeah,
so this poor masseuse had to stare at that for.
Was it a he or a she?
It was a she. It was a she.
And she never said anything. That's what.
Never said a word. So I don't know how she put up with that, right? Because I know if I saw that shit, I would say, "We're gonna stop right now. I'm hitting the clock, and you have to tell me why you have two little hands on your tramp stamp area with a magic marker."
Yeah, surely you should have. You could have found a better tattoo artist than that.
Oh, the best. So I got back after the tattoo. We ate dinner. I took my shirt off. I was getting ready for bed. She's like, "That thing is still on your back, and you just got tattooed." And I didn't even consider it. And I was like, "Oh, I gotta leave. I gotta call that lady and leave her a bigger tip."
That's funny. That's funny. Yeah. Oh man. No, it was a good joke. I enjoyed it. So what does Heather do? You said she does jewelry making, and she's got her own business.
Yeah, she stays busy with that. One of the other things she does. This is pretty cool. Wilmington is we have a lot of major motion pictures and TVs that get shot here.
Yeah.
She works background on a lot of these TV shows. So really? She loves it. She loves getting out of the house. She loves meeting all these great people in the community.
That's
but
cool.
She's pretty well known in it. So she's got like an agency she works with. So that gets her out and kind of involved. But she has a couple big scenes in, I don't know if you ever saw that movie Evan Almighty with Steve Carell. She's got a scene that she's like very, very seen there. She's been in a couple TV shows. Just recently, she's been in a couple movies and TV shows. So they're filming a lot here. This is really cool about Wilmington is that there's a lot of movies and TV shows that come out of here. So that's one of her fun things that she does. And like I said, just compatible. She loves the beach as well. So that's why we have that perfect kind of coastal lifestyle here.
Was it love at first sight?
It was, man. It was one of those things where I was on a tear at the time. Yeah. I was a single guy. I was dating everything that moved at the time. I was just constantly going on dates, and I was really feeling good about myself. Like I hit that stride in being a single guy where I just felt really confident in me. And she hit in like right in the middle of that. And after that first date, I canceled all the rest of the dates that I was had for the rest of the week. I was like, okay, we're going with
very
this.
Nice, very nice.
Yeah, she's awesome.
Well, congratulations, man.
Thanks, my dude. Thank you.
What does the future hold for our Dr. Thomas Walent?
I'm trying to slow down a little bit, so I'm trying to try not to be as busy as I am. So I'm trying to make sure that I can be the best husband that I can be, the best friend that I can be to my friends. I'm trying to be the best doctor. I'm just trying to live a better life of balance, because I do know that I've lived so many years where things have just not been balanced. And for several of those years, I never even considered putting myself first. I always had some sort of, it's a big mental barrier a lot of people have. They feel like if they're doing anything for themselves, that it's selfish, right? So once I got past that point where I realized, okay, I can take care of myself, but I can also take care of other aspects of my life. It's still super unbalanced. So the big thing we're going to try to do is Heather and I, we really want to start building our life together. We want to start doing some traveling and spending some more time together. I'm going to try to get less days in the office as well, because I do work 6 days a week. So we're trying to get a more balanced schedule with life. And I'm trying to, constantly always be the best version of myself. That's always my biggest thing, is trying to be the next day a little smarter, a little stronger, a little bit more emotionally balanced, a little bit better of a person to give to the rest of the world. I feel like if you're improving yourself, you're giving the world a better gift, that you can use your skills and you can use your attributes to make the world a better place. So always trying to work on that, and maybe find some relaxation time, like kind of figure out like what this leisure thing is that everybody loves so much. I live at the beach. I never get a chance to go. So that's the big thing for the future is continue to improve, but also get some more balance and continue to help as many people as I can.
Well, that's cool. That's cool. I want to ask you about a couple of professional opinions. One of them is, what's that damn puff that you do in the eye when you're checking the eye?
So that checks the pressure of the eye. So when we're checking, it's called intraocular pressure. That's a test that we're looking for glaucoma. So some people that have high intraocular pressures are more likely to have a condition called glaucoma. So my office doesn't use the puff. We have a little bit of a better technology in that, but it's the scariest fucking thing that we have ever. Like that's the thing that people don't go back to doctor's offices for, is they get a puff of air in their eyes.
And you usually got to pay extra
dilation
for
part of
it
the
too.
exam.
You usually got to pay extra for
Exactly, right?
it. Yeah. But it tests pressure, huh?
Yeah, necessary evil. Necessary evil.
Well, they say, I mean, y'all talk about a lot of the but diseases you can test through the testing of the eyes. A lot of precursors to a lot of, like you need to go get this checked out or you need to go get that checked out. It's evidently a lot of the abuse we do to our body shows in our eyes.
Huge, especially from a cardiovascular standpoint. So the number one that we see all the time, diabetes, hypertension, arteriosclerosis, those are all things that when you're looking in the inside of the eyes, you actually see the only place in the body you see blood vessels working in action without cutting you open or doing angiography. So when a doctor's looking inside your eyes, they're looking at the optic nerve, they're looking at the retina, making sure things are good, but you can see blood vessels too. And if there's signs that there's plaque building in those blood vessels, we know there's plaque other places. If we see there's bleeding in the back of your eye, we know your blood sugar's high and that you have to get tested for diabetes. There's been some wacky cases, every now and then you see these really rare things that is literally life-saving. I've diagnosed a brain tumor in somebody by looking inside their eyes. I've diagnosed a patient that had HIV that he didn't know he had it. And that was a crazy story where he had a major blood transfusion in the 80s. He was in a hunting accident and had this major blood transfusion just as AIDS got into the blood pool. And he had no idea. His entire life he was living with that until he turned in his 40s, came to get his eye exam because he needed reading glasses. And then some idiots telling him that he has HIV. He didn't want to believe it, obviously, But it's really cool. That's why I love my field, is that there's so many great things we do to improve people's lives every day. And it's important. It's not stressed enough that eye exams are, especially if you just think it's just for vision, which a lot of people, I don't blame you why you do, but same with dentistry. There's a lot of things in the mouth. It's very, very similar. We can find cues all over the body. And I meet patients that never see doctors ever. I ask them, how's your health? It's good. Okay. When was your last exam? 20 years ago. Like, how do you know you're good? When was the last time you had some blood work? How do you know you don't have these problems? So, routine maintenance of the body is the most important thing we can do. And I'm a small piece of that puzzle. And I try to incorporate all the other skills I have in life with that aspect. If someone's having a problem, I can talk to them about the other aspects, or other doctors who aren't as, well-rounded in nutrition and fitness and how the body works. They can't have those conversations. They say, oh, well, go see a nutritionist, or here, why don't you go exercise? There's so many doctors out there that say, oh, eat this diet, and it's a dog shit diet. Like, it's terrible. Or if they say, go get exercise, it's like, well, some people have no idea even where to start. They don't even know, do they have to go run every day? Does that mean they have to join a CrossFit gym? Does that mean that no one knows? So it's really good to be able to, from a lifestyle standpoint, say, these are all your options and these are things. Let's find something that works for you and let's see if we can get you healthier.
There's, why is it sometimes when I eat sugar, my eyes get blurry? It affects my eyesight.
It does, right? So hyperglycemia, there's a lens inside your eye, right behind your pupil.
Yeah. That
lens absorbs sugar, right? And when it absorbs sugar, it gets fatter. So if a patient's starting to get diabetic, the first thing they're going to do is they're going to come to their eye and say, doc, I can't see anymore. We have these patients that had a certain prescription for years, and then all of a sudden they take their glasses off and see better without prescription. They're like, did God just touch my eyes, right? They come in and it turns out I can tell immediately that it's typically reactions with hyperglycemia. So some people can handle body sugar really, really well. And some people can't, right? So that's why diabetes is important. And that's why we have to make sure that everybody's pancreas can pump out enough insulin to kind of handle the body sugar. Yeah. If you're restricting yourself from sugar for a long period of time too, which I know you eat, pretty low carb, sometimes it's a shock to our system when sugar gets back in there. Our body does not know what to do with it. And we see all these crazy reactions. So that could be a part of that. So I know you see a doctor regularly and just kind of keep up on the blood sugar levels. Yeah.
I've been diagnosed hypoglycemic. I know I have a problem in insulin resistant. I know I'm probably diabetes. There's along with that damn macular degeneration. I'm sure those are looming over the horizon sometime in the future. But the goal is to keep them out there as far away as I can,
That's it, man. Preventative nature. There's just so many things. And the biggest thing that people overlook all the time is diet and exercise is the most important thing. We find that there's some people that, their genetics are awful and they can't do anything. I'll admit here, I have the highest cholesterol of anybody you'll ever meet. And I do everything right. Like if you were to, every time I go to a doctor and they check my blood, they go crazy. They say, oh my God, we need to get you on a diet. We need to get you exercising. And I'm like, okay, well, this is what I always go to a new doctor with my diet plan, with my exercise program and pictures of like what I've done so that when they're like, because they don't believe you, right?
Yeah.
It's just my genetics for cholesterol sucks. There's so many things we can control. The things we can't control, then we have to kind of start thinking about, okay, what are my alternatives? Are there medications I can do if you're already trying? But diet and exercise is 90% of it. There's so many diseases that are self-imposed on our body just because we're putting the wrong fuels in and we're just not moving our body enough. It's sad, Well, it's really sad.
This last medical question, I want to make sure that I have attorney-client privilege, and you can't disclose to anybody. But
on a national podcast, let's do this.
My
name is Dr. Travis Mahaffey, by the way. So.
My mother always said masturbation will make you go blind. Is there any truth to that?
Look at the thickness of your glasses, pal. I think you just answered that for yourself.
I've noticed that I have glasses and you don't.
Mama knows best. You can never say that mom doesn't really know
I've never been able
on.
to ask a professional that question. So,
there's that looming thing in my brain where like the 16-year-old boy that's in the office that's starting to wear glasses. There's always that in my brain. Just want to say it, but don't want to say it. Have to have some sort of professional decor. But one of these days, idiot Tom's going to slip out.
My mother would always say, well, do it till you need glasses. That was one of her sayings. If you start needing glasses, well, then, we need to take a different path, I guess.
There it is.
Well, so tell me, man, what's the future hold? I know I've asked you that, but what do you long term? What do you want to do? You're into a lot of changes and self development and marriages, and what do you plan? Where do you see yourself 10 years from now?
10 years from now, I'm hoping I'm on a path of just kind of what I'm doing. I really want to try to retire as early as possible, and I'm in a pretty good position. I'm the cheapest human being on the planet. I spend $0 on anything, and I'm like the biggest saver in the world. For that specific reason is that Heather and I want to travel the world. Neither of us have done a lot of traveling in our lives, so in 10 years, I want to be closer to that goal. I think a really important thing is having goals. That you bring this up is that I think it's always important to be thinking about these things. I'm always thinking about, short-term goals, which I consider like 1 to 6 months, longer-term goals like 1 to 3 years, and 10 years and further. And I think if you're not moving I look at every action I do in a day, and I encourage everyone to try this. Think about all the things you do in a day. Are your actions taking you closer to those goals or farther away from your goals? And if you're doing more to move farther away, which is if, let's say you want to be more financially stable, if you're spending more money than you have, that's a problem. If you're trying to lose weight and you're cheating on your diet, that's a problem. If you're trying to get more fit and you're spending more time watching TV than you're exercising, that's a problem, right? I think you have to be really accountable to kind of what you're doing. So I'm hoping in 10 years, I'm living my best life. I'm hoping that Heather and I really want to provide for her, everything that I can. And we really want to travel. I'll show you a little sneak peek here since we're talking about it. One of the things I have here, this is a vision board that I have.
Very nice.
I always try to be, that's on my computer, by the way, it's on my phone. It's sitting here in my office. I want to make sure like every single day I'm thinking about these things. So all the things that are important to me, family is super, super important. Living a balanced life is super important. And I want to make sure that every single day I'm, kind of living, getting closer to that. So I'm hoping in 10 years, a little less work, a little bit more play. And I want to be the healthiest version of me as well. I want to make sure that I'm taking, putting myself first and making sure that I can provide more for everybody else that way.
Now, I know the nutritionist that you kind of leave it up to the person that you're advising and kind of, custom fit a diet toward that person. But if you were to pick one diet that you lean most to, someone who doesn't have anywhere to start, that doesn't even know what to try starting out, what would you point them to?
A balanced diet. I think the biggest thing is everyone has to immediately go to extremes, right? So if people are looking for nutritional advice, they're probably doing the wrong thing first, right? Or they don't understand certain things. I think balance is the most important thing. I actually have a picture right here. It's so funny because I was talking to a client about this before. I have kind of like a circle. I've got a plate that's split in half and then split in half again. I think for most people, if they take a medium-sized plate and they put protein, they put a small amount of carbs and the rest is vegetables, that's going to get 90% of what you need, right? I think that for most people, as long as you're tracking calories or tracking portions, that's the majority of what people need. If people want to be more nuanced in the exact amount of protein, the exact amount of carbs, exact amount of fats, exact amount of calories, we can work that way. But I think most people is just being a little bit more accountable. And then, like I said, portion control and eating just more nutritious foods than non-nutritious foods. Dallas always talks about that 90-10 thing or 80-20 thing. You can still have some fun foods in moderation, but we're talking about health or we're talking about fitness. They're two different things, right? If someone's active, you need more protein. It's a fact. You're always going to need a little bit more. So I think that balance is probably the first way to start. And then this is the problem, Vance, that most people get into is that they see what their friend did and they just say, okay, well, that friend ate a grapefruit every single day, a breakfast grapefruit and a lunch grapefruit, and they lost 200 pounds in a year. Awesome. So they get on that grapefruit diet. They do it for 4 days. They feel amazing. Everything looks good. They do it for 2 weeks and they're like, how the fuck am I going to get any more grapefruits? And then they're done. And then they go back to whatever lifestyle they had before. So the biggest thing is just kind of it's a changing lifestyle, is just saying, okay, what are some things that you can do every single day for the rest of your life and not feel like you're in a restricted state? You are restricting yourself. It's not an all you can eat buffet every single day, but it's about finding the balance in life. And it doesn't have to be extreme like keto or eating one meal a day. That works for some people. It's awesome for some people, but for other people, balance is probably the better way to start for sure.
Have you ever heard of a diet called volumetrics?
Possibly. So is that low calorie foods that have really, really high volume to it?
Yeah. I mean, you're doing kind of the balance deal that you're talking about, like with the plate. But you want to eat more foods that the ratio is if you divide the calories by the grams of serving. And so if it's like a 1 or a 2 or 2.5, then it's you get a lot more food, per the calorie. They call it calorie density or something. But if you're dividing the calories, say it's a 500 calorie food and it's 100 grams, and you're looking at a 5 to 1 ratio, and that's something that's going to cause a lot of fat. So you're trying to eat the lower ratio foods so that you get more food to fill you up. And it really it's what DDP preaches. It's eating real food. It's not eating processed food and that kind of stuff.
That's the exact way I eat, honestly, and I preach that to a lot of people, is I'm a volume eater. I don't get as full as I would like to, right? So picking lower calorie choices that have larger volume to them. So if you think about, you can get the same amount of calories from this much of peanut butter, or you can have a big giant salad, right? Yeah. Giant salad the size of your head, maybe 4 of those salads for the same amount of calories you'd get from that peanut butter. It's really important that most people don't understand calories. I think one of the most important things is getting some sort of an app for a day and just tracking your food and just seeing. It's shocking sometimes of how many calories we're consuming that we're not even thinking about, especially drinking. That's one thing I always tell people is try not to drink your calories, because orange juice on paper sounds like a healthy thing, right? And it's not too bad for you. It is what it is. It's fruit, right? It's fruit juice, right? But it's like 300 calories and it's all sugar. So if you have the choice of drinking water, which is 0 calories, or coffee or tea or any things that are low calories. I have no problem with diet sodas. I don't think there's any, if you look at the research on sweeteners, there's really no research that shows the sweeteners are bad for you. It's dogmatic. It's really just like all these other things. People have these feelings of why they think it's bad for them. If you do the research, there's no one dying of artificial sweeteners. It's never happened. But we get our emotions involved in it. Lower calories are always going to be better options for certain people for sure. But if you really watch your condiments, that's the biggest thing, that people can add 300 or 400 calories per day on just the condiments they choose. There's always a better option. Mustards are very, very low in calories. Hot sauces are lower in calories. Anything that's creamy and mayonnaise based, you can add 200 or 300 calories per meal without even thinking about it. And otherwise you can kind of just slather everything with what you want. So volume eating is probably one of the smartest choices for most people. And you'll notice the foods that are the highest volume foods for the lowest calories are going to be your fruits and your vegetables. It's going to be things like that. I think popcorn is like my go-to carbohydrate for almost anything, because I can eat a huge bag of, or a huge thing of air pop popcorn for 200 calories that I would normally get, just a little bit of brown rice for, Mm-hmm. So I'd rather fill up on my foods and feel full and satiated. I'm not going to have the risk of cheating on the next meal. And we live in such a really convenient world now where there's so many options. Like you can go to a grocery store and find so many lower calorie options that you just never had before. Like I eat powdered peanut butter, which who would have ever thought that's a thing, like PB Fit, but I can eat a much, much larger serving and still get that kind of taste of peanut butter. I get a little bit more protein. I get all that fat out of there, but I can get away with so many less calories.
Well, that's what I had. This was the first smoothie I'd ever had with PB Fit in it today. I made before our podcast. It's pretty good too. You get that peanut butter flavor. Yeah, it's not bad.
Yeah, it's just finding the choices that work for every person, and it's hard. Man, this is not. It's not easy, but it's not hard. But it's hard to kind of make changes. We're all raised a certain way. This is where the majority of our eating habits come from, is based on how we were fed as children and just our relationship with what we think food is. It's hard to change that around, to think about, like, once you get in that mindset, I always get my patients to get a food scale, or my clients to get a food scale too, because that's the killer. Is there's some foods that are very nutritious foods, but you don't realize how big of a portion you're eating. I'll go back to peanut butter. No one in the history of the world has ever eaten one serving of peanut butter. I dare them to find somebody that's done that, because once you weigh out that first one serving, and you're like, oh no. Or if you weigh out the first time you ever weighed out cereal out of a box, you'd be shocked. You're like, holy shit, I've been eating 5 servings of cereal every day my entire life, Yeah. So it works for some things. And then when also you take the opposite serving, you say, how much of a cucumber can I eat for 8 calories, right? Eat 9 cucumbers, or pickles or greens. I know I've seen you eat a lot of turnips and things like that. There's so many cool choices you can eat out there that are going to be way, way lower in calories that you won't even miss the other food once you kind of get into that. So it takes some work.
It sounds like you're in volumetrics similar. So it's pretty neat.
Very similar.
That's what my nutritionist has been trying to push me towards, is the volumetrics.
Yeah.
But now I want to ask you the same question for exercise. If someone was starting from scratch and didn't know where to start, what to do, what would you advise them to do?
I almost encourage everybody to walk at some point of their day. I encourage people to maybe start tracking steps. That's one of the healthiest things we could do. Tons of science behind the idea of just how beneficial moving around more is. That's something that we've all lost. COVID has ruined a lot of that for a lot of people. They've been stuck inside. But I think if you look at anybody's capabilities, almost anybody can walk. Not everybody can go for that jog or jump rope or do CrossFit or something crazy, right? So I think walking is super, super important. And I really do believe in DDPY. I'm not a shill for their company. I really have seen almost anybody that I know that can physically do DDPY in some sort of capacity. And if you think about how many calories you're burning doing that as opposed to other activities, I think it's great. If you have access to a pool, I think swimming is a really, really good option for most people too, just because you're not putting any stress on your joints. And it's anybody that swam before, you realize you swim 3 laps, you're out of breath, it's hard on you. So I think walking is really, really important. I think that's probably the number one thing I would start. And then any sort of resistance training that someone can do there's just so much research that just shows that if you're building a little bit of a stronger body, and that doesn't have to be heavy weights, but it has to be some sort of weights or bands or something. If you're just getting a little resistance on your body, you're probably going to live a healthier life.
Awesome, man. Now I'm going to pick your brain a little bit about books. You said you're a personal development guy. Books, mentors, movies, any quotes, anything that's really made an impression on you to help you transform your life or gotten you to where you are today.
So here we go. I have a mug right here. Heather made this mug for me. All
right.
That's Tony Robbins right there. That's
my
guy.
The man.
I've related more to Tony Robbins' works than anything else. His written books, he's just so dynamic, and he's had so much. Arnold's on there too. His work ethic has always been, and I got The Rock on here as well. And the Rock's work ethic is insane. Those are three mentors that I have.
You just got to make sure there's not any housekeepers around Arnold, though.
True. He's got those hands. But, I try to pick up from everywhere. I'm not too extreme. I mean, there's some really, like Goggins is super cool and Jocko's cool, and there's all these things that are super extremes. But I try to pick up from everywhere I can get a chance to listen, because everyone's got good ideas. Tony Robbins, for some reason, he was the first person. I had a cassette that someone gave me that I was listening in my car when I was in college. And I was like, whoa, this really resonates. Just about thinking about yourself and thinking about goal setting and things like that. That kind of set the ball going. Dallas is a huge mentor of mine as well. I can't lie to say that I'm honored to be able to call him a friend and a mentor and a colleague. There's not a time where I get to spend some time with him where I don't come out with something where I shake my head and say, you know what, for somebody that claims that he's just like this dumb wrestler, he's just such an advanced person when it comes to personal development as well. Sometimes he'll just shock me. He says something. I'm like, wow, that was the most simplistic way of looking at that. And it's the truth, It's
well,
really
he pisses you off because he's right all the time, even when you don't want him to be.
Yep. It's a good quality to have. It's really cool. It's I'm a big firm believer too, is just kind of surround yourself with positivity and positive people and successful people. I think that you should be the middle of your pack at all times. You shouldn't always be the best. You shouldn't always be the worst. If you're in the middle and you have successful people around you, and that's the people you should try to attract, I think that's going to get you the best place. Because I've been in situations, especially growing up, you're just around the wrong people, you get drawn into that crowd. If you're around people that are just way, way too above you, it's just too far over your head. So it's important to find those mentors in life that are willing to kind of give you those little tips. Some people can break down something that you would study for 20 years. They can break it down in 20 seconds and add a personal experience. And then you have that 20 years of their personal experience under your belt from that one bit of advice. So it's always really, really important that if you want to get better at something, find somebody that's really good at it and ask them for their mentorship or pick their brains. And this is why, again, I love that you're doing shows like this, is that you have all these successful people on the stories. All of them have a different story, but you're going to resonate with one little thing in that. And it's like, oh, okay, that makes sense. Their whole journey, I can get that one thing out of and make sure I don't make those same mistakes.
Yeah, no, I love just talking to people and bullshitting and getting their story, especially people that, have turned their lives around and helped others do the same thing. I just love talking to those people,
Everyone feels that, like, that intimidation. A lot of people that have done well for themselves want to share that information because they know that they learned from somebody else. It's a trickle-down thing. And a lot of times you might be afraid to ask somebody for advice or help. It's a really, really intimidating thing sometimes to ask somebody for help. There's so many people out there that are more than willing to give help. I know you get asked for help all the time, and I know you're the first person to line up and say, hey, this is what I did, and I can kind of show you what I did, and this is the path, and these are the fuck ups that I made. The most important thing is, share your mistakes and share your pitfalls. It makes people feel more human, but there's a lot of amazing people out there that are more than willing to help, for sure.
What you have any books that really jumped out at you? Any audio books I need to listen to?
Oh God, there's so many. One of my favorite books that I ever read was called The 48 Laws of Power by Robert Greene. Have you ever heard of that book before?
I've listened to it.
What a great book when it comes to just the social dynamics of the world. Mm-hmm. I grew up, not sheltered, but just kind of naive to the world of just how much power people can exert upon other people to get what they want. Mm-hmm. You could take a book like that and you can learn a lot about what's going on around you, and you could use it to good or you could use it to bad, obviously. That was one that I absolutely, I think is just an amazing book like that. But there's so much. I read so many different things. I read so much about exercise and fitness. I read so much about finance. I read so much about, kind of personal development. So I try to keep that always going. My big thing is health, wealth, relationship. I think that we were talking about like living a healthy life. That's my triangle is health, wealth, and wealth doesn't mean always money, and health doesn't always mean just existing, and relationships doesn't mean just your spouse. But if you think about just those three categories, that's 99% of your life. And if you get really good at those, keep everything balanced that way, it's usually the best thing. So those are my three big categories of what I read. I wish I had more time to study like history or art or something, or learn some sort of new skill. That would be a really cool thing. Like when I'm starting to think about leisure, I love golfing. Like that's one of my favorite things to do. I never fucking play golf. I would love to see 10 years down the road, I'm playing golf like a couple times a week. I would absolutely love that. So
it'll happen if you want it to. It'll happen, It
will. I'm going to make it happen.
That's
I've
right.
made so many good things happen, and it'll continue to happen for sure. So,
all right, man. I think I'm running out of questions. Is there anything you want to talk about that we hadn't touched on about the DDPY?
Vance, I just want to thank you
and the program.
I just want to thank you, man. This was a lot of fun, and like I said, I was really looking forward to catching up with you. It's been a while, and I haven't been available in the community as much to kind of follow their journey. So I'm glad to hear you're doing well. And if you ever need anything, and I mean this from a friendly standpoint, I'm not saying like I know better than anybody else, but if there's anything I could ever assist you with, I know you've reached out about the straps and stuff. Anytime you need something, or if you know somebody needs something, we're great friends. I would love to, just shoot me a line. And
thank you.
I wish we can connect more.
I appreciate it.
I want to try to keep in contact with you more often, for sure.
That's the greatness of this program that they've set up, is just how supportive and positive the community is, and all the people you meet, and everybody willing to bend over backwards to help people, and it's just amazing, man.
Where else does that exist? I've been looking for it. I don't find
nowhere on the internet. Where else could you get over 70,000 people and there not be a negative comment in the group?
Yep. And if there is, it like gets pounced upon in a second, and people defend it. It's shocking, It's one of those things. So that's one of the positives of my social media experience, and
it's a neat deal. All right, man. Like I said, you're gonna have to hire. You're gonna spend when you get ready for your tramp stamp. I hope you spend more money on your next tattoo than you did on your first one.
I'm telling you. In between those hands, it's going to say Vance right there.
Yeah.
Nice pretty letters.
Yeah, I hope, as long as it doesn't say was here, I'll be okay.
I wish I had the balls. I wish I have got a lot of balls. I wish I had the balls. If I was still single, I'd pull that shit off.
Yeah. Well, that might prevent you from ever being married. All right, man.
Sure.
Well, Thomas,
I love you, buddy.
I enjoyed it. Keep kicking ass, brother, and keep helping people, and keep doing your thing. And hopefully we'll see you sometime in the Mecca there in Atlanta sometime soon.
Might be sooner than later.
Yeah. All right, man.
All right. We'll see you, man. Thank you so much.
See, hey, don't hang up. I got to tell you something.
Nope.
I'm going to stop recording. Okay. All right. Thank you for listening to the podcast today. I'm your host, Vance Hines of Transform with Vance, where transformations begin every day. Please take a moment, if you will, if you like the podcast, to subscribe and follow, and you can find us on social media as well, either under Vance Hines or Transform with Vance. Please tune in and subscribe to our feed. You'll be able to hear lots of transformation stories. I'm in search of interviewing as many transformations as I can find. So if you have a transformation that you would like to have someone interview and have and appear on the podcast, just send me the name and number, message me, and I'll reach out to them and try to get them here. But no matter what, a better life begins on the mat. Get on the mat and start your transformation today. Thank you.